this monkey for now, Frankenstein?
I know I'd go from rags to riches.
Why, a 4-year-old child could understand this report. Run out and find me a 4-year-old child. I can't make head or tail out of it.
Faravelli, you've got the brain of a 4-year-old boy, and I bet he was glad to get rid of it.
My fate is up to you.
Now I'd be shitting my pants if I was you.
Hello, everybody. It's your Top 100, episode number 3, episode 1 total. But we're here. We're back. It is time for our next set of 10 from our illustrious panel. We're going to be in the 70s this week. Last week was interesting. I think you guys all improved very much from your first 10. But we're going to see what happens now. Scott, you won last week. I know you weren't expecting to, but you pulled it out. How you feeling?
I'm feeling okay. Yeah, I definitely wasn't expecting to. I don't think I underestimated myself so much. I think everything has generally gone how I was expected it to as far as my list. I think what I underestimated was everyone else's capacity for sabotaging themselves. So all of my predictions are out the window at this point. I may win 7 in a row. Who knows? It really depends, I guess. But yeah, excited to be here.
Leading up to this, you're like, oh man, I don't know, my list. I kept thinking, do you know who you're on the panel with?
Yeah, I didn't take that into account, I guess.
Second place, I think last week was Spence. Working your way up. You haven't been last yet. You got a second place finish in the third. You got to get where you going to end up this week? You go up or down?
You know what? I just really hope I got you to watch most of my movies except for one, and you had a good time with all of them except for one.
All right. Rue, you're back?
Yep. Yes.
What do you got for it? What can we expect from you this week?
All right. So this is where I place is what mood you're in, Kirk, because this is probably my favorite, one of my favorite just list of 10 up and down. It's just fun from front to back. Even if it's in my 70s, looking at this 10, I was like, oh, I love this list. I could watch these 10 back to back easy. So we'll see what mood you're in, and we'll see how it goes.
It's your favorite part of your list, but it's your 70s.
One of my favorite parts of my list, because I combined favorite with objectively better.
So you say one of your 10 favorite parts of your list, right?
Yes.
All right. I'll accept that. Jake, things got a little ugly last week. We got to rebound? Things will be better this week?
Yeah, well, first week I was first. The next week I was last. And, Gary Cole once said in Talladega Nights, if you ain't first, you're last. So that's always been my motto, too. So happy to live up to it.
You lived up to it so far. So we're going to get started. Still standard Your List Sucks rules. So we'll go through our bottom 3, just you and I talking to each other. And we'll start with Scott. Give us your 80 through 78.
Okay, my 80 is the Denis Villeneuve film Arrival.
Yikes for another episode.
Yikes.
Okay. Right. My 79 is The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. And my 78, deep breath, Dunkirk.
Yikes.
Yes.
For future episode.
Saved. Okay, the man who shot Liberty Valance is a John Ford classic Western from the 60s. For those who aren't familiar with it, it's a really great movie. Jimmy Stewart plays this sort of mild-mannered lawyer who his carriage is like riding next to this town. It gets attacked by Lee Marvin as Liberty Valance, who's this notorious outlaw. James Stewart gets injured. He ends up in the nearby town, and he decides he wants to fight back against Liberty Valance. The only problem is everybody in the whole town is scared of Liberty Valance except for one guy, and that's John Wayne as, this sort of tough guy. He's John Wayne. And so the two of them kind of start to team up to try and defeat this notorious outlaw. It's just a great movie, great old fashioned Western. As you can expect, all three actors are at the top of their game. It's also just kind of a fun, like, hangout movie for stretches, because James Stewart, he goes to this town, but he starts like actually enjoying the town, and Vera Miles plays the woman that he falls for, and he's working at the restaurant and everything. So there's just some fun like hangout sequences. And it's also a really cool movie about like the mythology of the Old West and like storytelling and history, and the way that certain stories maybe get embellished for history or even changed for history, because the whole frame narrative is sort of that James Stewart is telling the story of what happened years later to his class of school kids. So it's a great movie. It's one of my favorite Westerns. I don't know if a lot of people have seen it, but I highly recommend it. It's a fun one, and there's more beneath the surface than you might expect.
I just noticed somebody's nickname in the chat. Sorry, caught me off guard. No, Liberty Valance. This is a really good movie. What were we talking about on some show? I was talking about Unforgiven with somebody, and this movie has a lot in common with that. Just that idea, that like revisionist Western, and that idea of the idea and the fantasy versus the reality. And I think John Wayne and Jimmy Stewart are such perfect casting, because John Wayne is just that guy, that old school cowboy. You think about those movies, and Jimmy Stewart's like the exact opposite. And it's kind of like in this movie, Jimmy Stewart is kind of making him obsolete, and you're seeing that like development of the West, and the old West going away, and it does it really well. It's a really great story. So I think it's a really solid pick. And like I said, yeah, it's definitely a top tier Western. I doubt we're going to see a ton of Westerns on this list, on these lists, but I definitely think this is a solid one. So everything else of yours got yikes. So we will move over to Spence for your 80 through 70, 78.
My 80, Pacific Rim. My 79, My with Maryland. My 78, Kill Your Darlings. Oh yeah, as well. Pacific Rim is just so fucking cool. Like, it's so much fun. When it came out, I got lauded as like either the smartest dumb movie ever made or the dumbest smart movie ever made. And I think that's just a really fun dynamic to deal with, of like genuinely great filmmaking and an interestingly structured screenplay, and the character dynamics are just very engaging. While also just having like really fucking dumb kaiju action fights, and it's just insane. This is just like pure lizard brain enjoyment for me, where it's just like, I hate the term turn your brain off, but it's just one of the times where I'm just like, you know what? I'll just accept everything. It's pretty colors, it's violence. What's there not to like? I think a lot, like the actual choreography of the fights as well, even being pure CG around the city, and you feel like the actual weights of like the giant monsters and mechs. I think it's awesome. My with Maryland. It's a good time. There's not a lot. To me, at least, there's not a lot deeper to it. I just enjoy sort of living in this old Hollywood world, sort of like centered around Michelle Williams giving the performance of her career. And on top of that, it's just there's this. I rewatched it with someone a couple days ago, and like I think the movie tends to like, it has a little lull in the beginning, because like fucking Freckles McGee from Les Mis is like not an amazing protagonist. But when you actually get to him, like spending time with Marilyn Monroe and seeing her sensitive side, and seeing, I described it as basically like, you get to see her transform between the real like Marilyn and the performance she gave to the world as like the sex icon, the idol. And seeing that just big change, I think, is just really incredible. And again, like the movie's just really endearing to me. I think there's a lot of softness and warmth to it as we spend more time in their budding romance, whatever it is. I think it's just a really good time. And Kill Your Darlings, for those who don't know, it's about a bunch of the start of the beat poet generation, and they're gay, so I have to like it. I was also did a lot of creative writing in high school and poetry, so I had to like it. But I rewatched it recently when I'm finalizing this list, and I realized, like, no, this is actually just like a great crime film, because you're introduced to it in fucking manic depressive Dane DeHaan is in a prison cell screaming. It's like, you have to help me out here. And you're like, what is happening? And then you introduce the whole story, and it's sort of like this reverse storytelling of figuring out like how you got there. And you're so invested in this like crime mystery. Not to say what the crime is, but like it's really thrilling while also having like this great insight into what the times were and how they tried to not overthrow, but like had to change what poetry was, and how it went from like this very basic structure and a rhyming scheme, and they just destroyed it. And as someone who used to write a lot of poetry, I think seeing its history from there is so incredibly interesting. And also the cast is amazing. This is very small, not like a lot of people, not very huge. I know like people have seen it on Zach Ford, but if y'all want to like do like some minor history and watch Harry Potter and Green Goblin fuck, it's a good time.
Okay. Yeah, Pacific Rim is awesome. I love this movie. It's on my top 100. And yeah, I mean, you had, get out of here, Jake. You're exactly right. I think that was the Screen Junkies quote was, the smartest dumb movie is the dumbest smart movie. It's so good. The way this movie uses scale is so amazing. Like that scene at the beginning, like, they don't make you wait for it. Like the scene starts like just people cross the bridge and then just a giant monster like drops and crushes it. And just that, and the scene on the beach. And I said this before, the scene where the little girl's running from the kaiju and you get that over the shoulder shot, that is top 3, one of my favorite things I just saw on a movie screen in the decade. It's just so amazing. And I mean, this is what he does. It's Del Toro does. It's almost like what Tarantino does. They take the genre stuff that they love and they just elevate it and they make it something more than it is. And like, yeah, the human stuff is not awesome. It's not great. It's not the best. But I mean, there's some stuff like Charlie Day's fun. Ron Perlman's cool. Like, here's some really good moments in there. But yeah, you're there for the monster fights, and the monster fights are awesome. So yeah, I love that movie. And I'll make it easy for you. I have not seen your 78 or your 79. They both sound interesting. Like, I don't know how much Dane DeHaan and Christian Haydenson I could take on together.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Is it right? It's not.
And then Harry Potter. He pulls the wand out, Star Wars is nowhere near this.
Okay, I must have misread it then. But yeah, and your week, my week with Marilyn looks interesting too. These both movies I want to check out. I just didn't get to them in time, so for now you get a pass on those. And we will move over to Amaru for your 80 through 78.
All right, my number 80 is The Replacement. 79 is Dodgeball. And 78 is Inside Out. All right. Pain heals, chicks dig scars, glory lasts forever. The Replacements is just the ultimate sports movie for dudes and chicks who love sports. Take everything I said about Necessary Roughness and just make it better in The Replacements, because you have Keanu Reeves as the washed high school college quarterback coming back to revive his career. Orlando Jones needs more work for all I care, because he is absolutely hilarious. Faison Love has a cameo in here. Jon Favreau and Risa Bonds before their MCU fame. And it's just a fun ass time. It's you get the bar fight. You get them singing along to "I Will Survive" in the jail. And Gene Hackman being the old grumpy coach trying to put this ragtag team together. If anything you love about an underdog story, they are the underdogs. They're replacing the NFL players as they go on strike, and all the weirdness and chaos just goes forward in what you would expect from a movie like this. I just love how fun it is, and I love the really stacked cast, how much fun they're having in the film. It knows what it is, and it just it plays that way. So 79, Dodgeball. It is the underdog story. It has some of the most my favorite comedic performances ever. Ben Stiller going full whatever he's doing is Whitey Ford or Whitey and going back and forth with Vince Vaughn is one of my favorite things ever. It's just absolutely hilarious how they go back and forth. A lot of the greatest bits I've seen, and it's actually it has a lot of heart. behind it as well. A lot of heart, a lot of humor. Some of the most quotable parts, quotable things you've ever heard. I mean, anything from Jason Bateman throughout the film, you'll definitely get, especially the this is a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it works out for them. And then going from there, 78 Inside Out. I think this is top tier Pixar. Inside Out for me is just Pixar continuing to prove that it knows how to reinvent itself and come up with something new every single time. The voice cast is amazing. The story hits you really hard in terms of things you're dealing with as a kid, what your emotions might feel like. And they still bring the humor. They, again, always bring the heart, make you cry towards the end of the film. And I think it's just one of Pixar's best.
Okay. Number 80, Replacements. Again, completely inoffensive. No, I mean this movie got a lot. It's fun. It is a fun movie. They have all like those stock sports movie characters, but it's well cast. I think everybody does it well. Keanu's good in it. Gene Hackman's good in it. A lot of good, just football movie moments. So yeah, I mean, again, top 100, but it's a fun movie. Dodgeball is not my movie at all. Just not my humor. I think I've said this already a couple times. I'm not a Ben Stiller guy at all, and just that kind of style of humor doesn't do it for me. And then Inside Out, I watched this with my daughter when she was 12. We sat in the theater together, so that made it like extra devastating for me, and I really loved it. Still really like it. On rewatch, some of the characters give a little more grading, and you start to kind of see through it as more just like a cartoon. But still, I mean, it's still probably top 10 Pixar for me. So I'm assuming we'll probably see a few more Pixar movies on your list. This one's not too bad. So all right, start for you, Rue. Let's go over to Jake for your 80 through 78.
I don't know. Like last week, I thought everyone's lists were really good, and this week, I think I have a pretty good chance now. And number 80, I have a little film called Alien. Really?
Wow. Come on. Come on.
Okay. Yeah, Alien. Okay. At number 79, I have Superman Returns. And at number 78, I have In a Lonely Place.
All right.
Okay. Okay, so I guess I'll start with Alien. I'm kind of shocked. I wasn't really prepared to talk about this one because I was like, someone's gonna have Alien higher than 80. Like, this is a perfect movie. From the moment that the slow title card that appears on the screen, just how comfortable this movie is from slowly unraveling this mystery at the center of it, and the way that it's constantly evolving. I can't really say enough about Aliens. There's nothing new to say about Aliens. It's a fantastic movie. Or Alien. Alien. I guess I'll move on to Superman Returns. Okay, so Superman Returns. This is a weird one. This is at a time when superhero movies were, you thought that they had peaked. You thought that they can't keep doing that forever. And if you really look back on the history of comic book films briefly, the big points are Donner's original Superman, and then Burton's Batman, and then probably Bryan Singer, his X-Men. His X-Men movies. Christopher Nolan said that when he saw X-Men, he got angry because he was like, I wanted to do that. Now, obviously, this cast and crew is kind of cursed. It really, you got Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor. And I just want to really hit on one sequence that I think totally condenses what I think is so fantastic about this movie. It's when Lex Luthor inserts that kryptonite-like thing that makes an island grow, and he inserts it to test it on this model kit. and it shows the model being blown up, and it's this beautiful homage to Richard Donner, who was his mentor. At the same time, it's cross-cutting with this extremely modern CGI action set piece with a rocket that's strapped to a plane and everyone's flying around, and it's just fucking insanity. And the fact that they put both the old and the new next to each other is beautiful. So that's Superman Returns. I wish I could go longer on that, but okay. And then In a Lonely Place, the Nicholas Ray, Humphrey Bogart movie. I wouldn't dare spoil it too much. It's a film noir, a romance, existential romance. I've heard it described as. The closest thing that I would really compare this to is Gone Girl in a weird way, where this is about relationships and how you can never know what's inside someone's head, despite your best efforts. And just really haunting. Probably my favorite Bogart performance, because I had to put a Bogart on this list, because the older I get, the more I relate with his sad, droopy puppy face. So yeah, that's In a Lonely Place.
Okay, cool. Obviously, Alien's great, and I'm shocked that it stopped at 80. I wish you guys could all talk to make excuses as to why you don't have it here. But this is just the perfect blend of science fiction. It's a haunted house in space, which is amazing. I love the monster. I've said this before, like the idea of a monster that's even still dangerous after you hurt it. Like, it bleeds acid, and it's going to still hurt you or kill you even after you hurt it. Like, there's no way to hurt it without damaging yourself. Is just such a great idea. The character design's great. Such a great cast. That supporting cast of just the scenes where they're just hanging around on the just having dinner or doing their work. I love like blue collar sci-fi where just they're not out exploring, they're not some great adventures, they're just earning a paycheck. I love that about this movie. Even before the chest burster pops out, it's so much fun just watching these people hang out. This is a fantastic movie. Great pick.
Kirk, can I just briefly add to that? The reason I think they're blue collar is to make them relatable, because it's a horror movie in space. That's one of the things that clicked for me recently was, you need to be able to relate with these people. They're not scientists. They're
absolutely.
Yeah, we're going.
79, Superman Returns. I recently rewatched this because I had to to study trivia. Somebody was using DC movie against me, so I just binged a bunch of DC movies. I had not seen this since it came out. So this is my first viewing of it through like the lens of Man of Steel and the Snyderverse and everything. And woo boy, was it nice to see Superman saving people instead of like actively murdering them. Like to see actually see Superman on screen and not just this murderous raging lunatic who's going to kill the world if anything ever bad happens to Lois Lane. I won't argue on the technical merits comparing them, like which movie's better, from whatever, but I will take this Superman any day of the week. Like it's not a great. I mean, it has its flaws. I think that there are a lot of miscasts. I think Roth does a good Christopher Reeve impression, but I think that's pretty much it. I can't even remember the girl who played Lois Lane. She's so forgettable, but I mean that was just a terrible choice.
Kate Boswell.
Kate Boswell, yeah. I think that was
Bosworth, yeah.
Again, it doesn't matter because, like I said, you blink and you forget her. That the movie kind of collapsed under the weight of that. I don't like the storyline where now Superman has a kid. Like I think that's not a way to start your franchise, and I think that's what buried it. But
it's key. It's key to the theme.
But that's what you do like in the third movie. But this one was I just feel like I said, it was just so refreshing to actually see Superman in a Superman movie after everything we've gotten over the past 10 years. So again, top 100. I wouldn't say it's by any stretch of the measure top 100 worthy, but it's a solid Superman movie. And In a Lonely Place, I watched this for the first time I think last year. Definitely want to give it a rewatch. Bogart is good, and it's very interesting to see him in this kind of role. Kind of like that. You're not. Usually he's kind of just there, and his cards are on the table. And to see him playing this kind of ambiguous character is really interesting. Kind of a stretch for him, and I liked it. But like I said, I got to give it a rewatch. But it's a solid movie. So that is everybody's bottom three. So gloves are coming off. We all get to argue, fight, kick, punch, pull hair, whatever we got to do here. Starting with number 77, and Scott, give us yours.
Right, I didn't plan it this way, but as a matter of fact, my 77 is a movie that and I hope everyone else celebrated this past Sunday. Mean Girls.
Yikes to a later episode.
Dadgummit. I've talked about one movie tonight. Okay, I think I'm going to get to talk about this one. My number 76. Hopefully, Kirk gives me points for having it higher than Dunkirk. 1917.
Yikes for another episode.
Wow, this is rough.
I think you're safe here.
Okay, all right. I'm safe on this one. My number 75, another John Ford film, The Grapes of Wrath. Nobody has this.
Come on, Jake, come on.
The Grapes of Wrath. The Grapes of Wrath is one of the best literary adaptations I think ever put to film. Of course, adapted from John Steinbeck's novel. And yeah, I'm going to use the cliche again. Like, this movie is very. I mean, it's of its time and also ahead of its time in the same way. It's it's a movie about the Dust Bowl, and Henry Fonda as Tom Joad and his whole family get sort of ousted from their home in California, and they have to travel out to the Midwest just to try to find a way to survive. And it's it's a heartbreaking story at times, but I think the way that it portrays just the what the people experiencing economic inequality in our country have to go through back then and now are is still pretty powerful. And in particular, one thing I like is the way it shows that people in this position oftentimes get drawn into a world of crime, right? Like, it's systemic factors that often contribute to crime in society more so than it is some sort of inherently evil quality of mankind. And Tom Joad ends up getting in trouble because he gets involved in a fight, but again, it's sort of a product of the system that he finds himself in. And I guess I'm spoiling the movie a little bit, but again, the book's been out for like 100 years. At the end of the movie, Tom Joad basically decides he wants to go become a social justice warrior and go around the country, sort of talking about the issues that poor people are facing in the country, and fighting for social justice and fighting for their humanity to be respected. And Jane Darwell, who plays the mother and actually won an Academy Award for her performance, also has a great monologue at the end of the movie. There's two great monologues. Tom Joad has one right before he decides he's going to leave his family and go be a social justice warrior. And then at the very end of the movie, Jane Darwell has one that is just sort of like, amazingly, it's able to find hope amidst all of this sort of misery, often at times during the movie, and where she just has this whole monologue about how we're the people. And it's a great note to end the movie on. I think this movie holds up really well. It's there's nothing flashy about it, certainly, but it's a great straightforward drama and one of Henry Fonda's best performances as well. And it still really holds up to this day.
All right, I'm glad you got to talk about this one because I have not seen it yet. This is like one of my biggest blind spots as far as like classic American movies. I think it's like the highest rated movie on the AFI 100 that I haven't seen. But so obviously I do want to see it, just haven't seen it yet. Anybody else on Grapes of Wrath? Anybody else seen it?
Have not seen it.
Yeah, it always surprises me that like John Ford directed this of all people, because like just his politics don't seem to align with what this movie is pretty explicitly like making a case for.
And you could say the same thing about The Searchers, honestly, depending on how you want to read The Searchers. But yeah,
I don't know I don't know what in The Searchers was intentional and what wasn't, though. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what I say. Depending on how you want to read it. Yeah,
I love The Searchers, but yeah,
me too.
I read the book. I watched the movie a long time ago. I remember it was a really good book. Just a bit slow for me in terms of the movie, so never watched it again. But concur on all the things. Definitely a great book, and from what I remember, amazing movie.
It's actually a really fascinating point about The Searchers and this movie. Really think about it.
All right, Scott, what is your 74?
I'll just say The Grapes of Wrath is the ultimate movie that they show you in school, and you're like, ugh. And then when you're watching it, you are actually like, oh, hey, this is actually really good. This is actually really interesting. But anyway, my 74.
Osmosis jokes for me.
Last week we talked about one of David Cronenberg's mid 2000s efforts. I'd like to talk about another one of David Cronenberg's mid 2000s efforts, Eastern Promises. So I said this last week when we talked about History of Violence, but I love it when like an auteur director, especially one like Cronenberg, who's known for like his out there movies, decides to like make something a lot more straightforward and mainstream, and this is his take on like a gangster movie, basically. And it's a really fascinating story. I mean, people still talk about History of Violence a lot. I think this one remains very underrated. I don't think enough people appreciate or talk about this movie. But basically, Naomi Watts plays like a midwife who is delivering a baby for this woman. One evening, the woman dies in childbirth. The baby is born in, and the woman leaves behind a diary that happens to have a lot of secrets about the Russian mob, and she was mixed up in the Russian mob. And so Naomi Watts' character, takes the baby, and she ends up getting involved with the Russian mob too. She takes the diary basically to be translated by the mob boss, and then the mob boss realizes that, oh hey, she's in possession of all these dangerous secrets. Armin Mueller-Stahl plays the mob boss, and he's fantastic in the movie, like very sort of menacing, but also has like a charisma, welcoming about him. Like when she comes to the restaurant where they operate out of, he's like offering her food and all this stuff, and he's a very effective, mob boss. But then you have Viggo Mortensen and Vincent Cassel, who are sort of the two heavies inside the mob. Viggo Mortensen being the more composed, like cold killer, and then Vincent Cassel is like the loose cannon. He's the son of Armin Mueller-Stahl's character, and that dynamic is fun. I mean, Naomi Watts is always awesome. She's one of my favorite actresses, and I think she leads the movie very well. Viggo Mortensen, Oscar nominated, and it's easy to see why. It's a very complex performance. There are some twists that happen in the third act that work really well, I think. I don't want to say too much more than that, but it turns out to be a very complex performance, and I think you appreciate it a lot more after watching the entire movie. And yeah, there's one of the most memorable fight scenes in movie history is in this movie. If you've heard of the movie, it's probably because you've heard about this fight scene. And it is the one moment where Cronenberg goes full Cronenberg and is like, I'm just gonna, go out and make this crazy, brutal fight scene inside a bathhouse, and it's spectacularly staged. But the whole movie is similarly spectacular. But it doesn't make a big deal about itself. It's not as flashy. Again, it's not as out there as you would expect from Cronenberg. It's just a really solidly made, enjoyable movie with a great story and great performances. So I highly recommend Eastern Promises.
All right. This and obviously History of Violence. We're going to draw a lot of comparisons. I like them both. I think I like this one a little bit more. This one's just a little more up my alley. Viggo's great in this. I love the way the mob is presented. How it's not just like some like lofty like secret organization, just kind of regular people. Like guy owns a restaurant, and like her uncle, who's just like this old guy, is involved and knows all about it. Like it's just a really interesting, just kind of dynamic within that organization, and just watching Viggo go through that and kind of maneuver through that, especially after what you find out about him at the end. It's just really well done. I'm not a big Naomi Watts fan. Usually she kind of bores me, but I think she's pretty good in this one. So, that's a pretty solid pick. Everybody else on Eastern Promises. Hold on. I want to say one more thing. I do not believe for a second that Cameron Holtzman has a Cronenberg top 5.
I think you watched him for a match, maybe. That's all I can think.
I don't buy it. All right. Everybody else saw it. Eastern Promises.
Haven't seen it, but heard of the naked knife fight.
Yeah.
Oh, I think Scott, you spoke beautifully about the movie, a movie that I love too. So I there's like a specific kill though in this movie that kind of disturbed me. I think about it all the time. It's like a guy is in like a barber shop, and this like barber pulls out like a straight razor and just like chops away at his jugular like it's a serrated blade, but it's not. Yeah. It's just a fucking straight razor, and I just think about that too much, and I really all the body horror where they're like cutting people's fingers off and making the bodies can't be identified. The tattoos. He really fits the body horror into this one in a way. It really focuses on that part of the world in an interesting way.
Spence, you seen this one?
In the Viggo Mortensen full Dong cinematic universe, I have not caught up to this one yet. I really like Captain Fantastic. Okay, it's a good movie.
All right,
let's not go there.
Okay, Spencer, coming up to you for your 77.
Of equal quality, my 77 is Sky High. It's such a good movie, guys. I mean, come on. His name's War and Peace. That's a great joke. Fuck you. Okay, I was like, oh, yeah, this is a pretty fun movie. And then I watched it recently with Mike Hanley and one big bitch Andrew Barr over here. I was having a great time. Barr hated it, so I liked it even more. It's like one of my childhood movies. Like, Rue has a list of TNT movies. This is a fucking Disney Channel classic. You get home from school, and it's like 4 p.m., and you're like, huh, what's on TV? Fucking Sky High, and it's a great time. It has this really interesting, I won't say interesting, but like I really enjoy the superhero universe that they've created because it actually feels pretty lived in, even to the point that just like it all ties together with Ron Wilson, bus driver, being like the hero of the movie, like having a backstory in the superhero world, and then being important to the overall like finale. Also creating a villain who I think is genuinely intimidating. With not Layla, fucking Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who is also Patrick Warburton. Like there is so much like fun to be had here. All the kids' powers are utilized like in a really interesting way. If you have joy in your heart, I don't get how you cannot like this like cheesy masterpiece.
Hey, Kathy. Guess what Spence's number 77 movie of all time is? Sky High. We used to watch this this is another one. When my kids were little, this was on repeat, so I've seen this a lot. So your top 100 and my kids' top 100 at like age 5 is very similar. So
I speak to all generations.
No, it's again top 100. No, but is it a fun movie? Yeah. Is the world building cool? Yeah. Are the characters fun? Yeah. I'm not going to sit here and crap on Sky High. Of all the movies I had to watch when my kids were little, this is top tier. Again, if I'd have made top 100 movies of those movies, this would be very, very high. This would be top 5. But I mean,
only the best movies feature Cloris Leachman. Like this is S tier quality actor.
Have you seen Spanglish?
Yeah, you know what? It's this, the Croods 2.
Oh my god. Okay, everybody else on Sky High.
I fucking love Sky High. Sky High rules. It's like a perfect script. That is a great movie. The whole thing with the sidekicks, I find the whole movie is just maybe one of the most underrated movies. Like, I fucking love it. Kurt Russell is perfect for the tone, where like he's almost self-aware, but not quite. That's Kurt Russell's whole thing. Like, not his whole. He can do a lot, but he's perfect to play this movie's version of elder state Superman, and I just love the whole movie. It's a great pick. You found the other like huge Sky High fan. Like,
yes, this is a child's movie, but children's movies deserve their place amongst the best. And I think this movie is very good. I think it is surprisingly good. It could easily just talk down to children and just be dumb, stupid things, but they actually have a good theme and good stories and good characters and dynamics that work, that you're like, holy shit, this is something I'm actually going to pay attention to. So I don't blame you. I saw this for the first time at on a military base with my friends and just was bullshitting around. And then I saw it again last year and I was like, yeah, this movie still holds up. It holds up great. So good on you, Spence.
I was gonna say, because like Rue mentioned all the time, like we saw Zol together. In the middle of watching, he's like, "Hey, that's the fucking kid from Sky High, the glowing guy."
Yes.
Like, holy shit!
Yeah, this was a childhood favorite. I hadn't watched it for a long time, and then recently I played a match and was given this as a deep cut movie, and I'm very glad I was because the movie holds up. I said this at the time. I think if I were to make a list that was the MCU and Sky High ranked, this might be in the top 10 if I'm being quite honest. It's a very fun movie, and it has like the spirit and whimsy that I wish more comic book movies nowadays had. So yeah, and if Kurt Russell offered me a tuna fish sandwich, I would definitely eat it.
Bar said he likes Spanglish in the chat.
Yeah, we don't need to. We're not starting that discourse.
Spence, give us your 76.
My 76. Arguably of equal quality. T2 Judgment Day.
Yikes.
Yeah, expected that.
For a future.
My 75. It's been yikes. We got to talk about it for a while. Gone Girl. This is a movie I think sort of crept up on me. I read the novel and I loved it, like in anticipation for Fincher's film. I'm like, okay, I'll watch it. I'm like, oh, it's all right. And I realized I was just being like a little bitch because I was like, it's not the book, so it's not amazing. And I rewatched it like 5 times since then. Like, oh no, this is like incredible. One of the best screenplays ever written. And it creates like one of the best antagonists we've seen in the past 10 years with Amy Dunn. Also started the trend of the good for her cinematic universe. It's weird to say this movie's fun because I just get really engaged in Amy's just like journey of just seeing someone so sociopathic and someone so driven by hatred. Like everything she does is it's like you're watching the film from like the villain's perspective, even though Ben Affleck with his eyebrows and dong is also an asshole. And I think this movie does a amazing job of a story basically led by really shitty people, and you are so invested in everything they do and all of the terrible shit they do to meet in the middle. And it also has one of my I think it's better than the book, but the entire concept of the cool girl, and that basically being like the thesis for the film, how of just Amy's building a false personality and then having to break it down and seeing and Ben Affleck seeing who she truly is so fascinating. I cannot like recommend because everyone's fucking seen this. But like, this is one of my favorite Finchers because it is just so smart.
I also have this.
Okay.
Yeah, this movie is excellent. I think David Fincher has made 4 masterpieces. I'm going to talk about all of them. This is the first one on my list. It was in the 90s somewhere. But yeah, the thing I want to highlight is the supporting cast for this movie is probably the best in any Fincher film. Paul mentioned Carrie Coon, who is always great, and she's great as the sister, as Ben Affleck's sister. Kim Dickens, I think, is excellent as the detective in the movie. Tyler Perry obviously plays a lawyer. Even like Scoot McNairy shows up for one scene as like the guy from Amy's past, and he's great. Yeah, I kind of agree. Neil Patrick Harris stands out a little bit, but yeah, the movie is like just it has the Fincher thing of like where it's super dark and it's like, oh, I should be like repulsed by what I'm watching right now, but like I'm just mesmerized because he's such a in control filmmaker. And you know that scene with Neil Patrick Harris where she kills him is one of the most like shocking, grisly like acts of violence that you'll like see in it. Like it's crazy that that you see something like that depraved in a movie that is, you know, mainstream based off you know, one of the best selling books of the last 20 years or whatever. But yeah, it's a compulsively watchable thriller. Again, very rewatchable as well. And yeah, I can't say enough good things about it. I think it's better than the book for me.
Okay, I've seen this once, and full disclosure, I was planning on watching it again for the show, and I thought somebody else had on the list. It was going to come up again. I thought it was going to get yikes tonight. So that's why I haven't rewatched it yet. So I'll go from my memory the first time I watch it. I like it. Again, I have to see it again because like I didn't see the first time. Like I enjoyed it, but I didn't see like what you guys did in it. I think it's very interesting the way like they play with time and they unfold the relationship. How they show their relationship developing, and everything that happens to them. Yeah, she's just a really interesting character, and just kind of like that reverse, almost whodunit with seeing her, how she lays everything out, and going having everything happen and then going back and all it paying off when you see what she did, and just that reveal when you see she's still alive, and they right away hit you with what she did. I remember that being a really cool moment. And the ending just kind of gross and like leaves you walking out of the theater like feeling disgusted, but in the best way. So yeah, I liked it, but I do want to watch it again. Jake and Rue on Gone Girl.
What I'll say about Gone Girl, every time I think of this movie, it just reminds me of how good Rosamund Pike is at pissing me off. Between this and I Care a Lot, she is so damn good at being evil as shit. Like one of the biggest things that like ticks me off in a movie, and in a good way, is when people are accused of things that they didn't do and somebody's behind it. And she does so well at that. She is so like, you can't take your eyes off of how evil she is in this film. And it is engrossing, and it's hard to watch while it's like you can't look away. Great movie, but Rosamund Pike is just above and beyond when it comes to these kind of roles.
Oh yeah, this used to be like my falling asleep to movie for a while, so I've seen this like 50 times. Like I find this movie very tranquil and relaxing. I love the vibe of it. I'll defend Neil Patrick Harris really quickly. I saw one critic compare him in this movie to the way that Brian De Palma uses John Lithgow as a villain, and I thought that was a very astute observation about how you can use someone that we traditionally know as a comedic, very theatrical actor, and like kind of tune into their menacing side. So I really liked him in the movie. I love the whole movie. Carrie Coon rules.
All right, Spence, 74.
Watch The Leftovers.
I will shut up because my 74 is Arrival, which is Yank's later episode.
Who else shakes that?
Rue did.
All right.
Future episode.
Okay, then Rue, we are coming back to you for your number 77.
All right. So Kirk, you're either going to surprise the hell out of me, or these next four are going to definitely determine where I'm at for the rest of this series. And I have a pretty good idea where this is going, but I don't care. We'll start it off with my number 77, Ocean's 12. I love Ocean's trilogy to death. It is one of my favorite franchises of all time. And this movie, I think, gets shitted on way too much. I think I like Catherine Zeta-Jones's relationship with Brad Pitt way more than I like Julia Roberts. I love seeing them fail and having to have the characters that aren't front and center try to come together and salvage whatever the hell is going on. As sticky as it is, I like the Julia Roberts stick, and Bruce Willis coming in and actually caring about like taking them out of this. Vincent Cassel as Talor is fucking amazing. I think he's one of the smartest, the smoothest, the most charismatic antagonist type characters in these types of movies I've seen. I absolutely love his capoeira scene through the lasers. And I think that the reveal of how they actually worked it out, this is actually my favorite reveal of them all. Especially with that fucked up game yesterday of Yankees Red Sox on the train in the cap and them just going and fighting. I had the most fun watching that. And I think I don't know whether or not Soderbergh decided to go a little bit more stylized with this than the other two, as stylized as they are. It's the first one coming up for me, but I love 12. It is definitely below the other two, but it's one of my favorite films, and I said it before, I love ensemble pieces, and this ensemble cast is one of the greatest. So it's here.
Do you misspeak? Do you mean that 12 is below the other two?
That's why it's coming up first. That's what I mean.
Oh, okay.
Coming up first.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, I've said like I'm not the biggest Ocean's 11 fan, and on rewatches, it's grown on me. I recently watched this for the first time, and oof, like everything that's good about the first one, I feel like is missing from this one. Like I read somewhere that this originally wasn't an Ocean's 12 script; they kind of just rewrote it to make it, and that makes complete sense. Like some of the heist stuff is okay in this, but there's so much that's not heist stuff. It's not like fun. It's kind of a downer. I hate the Julia Roberts as Julia. The movie just completely falls off the rails for me. That's to me like that's my biggest problem with this movie. It's like, oh, we got a bunch of celebrities together. You're welcome. Look at all these awesome celebrities we have on the screen for you, and like that to me is just like the pinnacle of that. Like, oh, Julia Roberts is going to play Julia Roberts. Isn't that awesome? And I hated every minute of that. But yeah,
it's such a small part of the film. The film is
it goes on for a long time.
It's like the end.
Wait
about the back and forth between Salor and the crew. That's what's so good about it.
Wait until we talk about Everybody Wants Some, bro. Then we'll hear a complaint about a small part of the film.
Oh, well, we'll get there. But yeah, this was like I said. Like I mean, like again, I don't love the first one, but it's fun. This movie was just there's so much it was just a downer for me, and I just wasn't into it. I'm excited to check out 13 because everybody says 13 is really good. I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to. And El Pacino's in it, and El Pacino's cool. But yeah, this one just this was not my masterpiece, Paul. That's saying a lot. I mean, if you like it, that's fine, but masterpiece, that's kind of crazy. Everybody else at Ocean's 12.
Yeah, this is actually my favorite Ocean's movie. Oh my gosh, that's a crime. Okay. Yeah, this is my favorite Ocean's movie. I love the weird meta Julia Roberts joke. I think this is kind of it's almost a spoof of the first movie, and it makes me so sad that Soderbergh got kind of nervous and tried to repeat Ocean's 11 when he did Ocean's 13, which I think Ocean's 13 is kind of boring. Yeah, I love how goofy this movie is, unabashedly. I kind of think this is a sequel about trying to make a sequel, trying to make it more expensive and bigger and better and one-upsmanship. And I love this movie.
I've only seen this one time, and it was many years ago. I do remember it being my least favorite at the time. It's quite possible I would have a reevaluation of it if I were to watch it today, because I do love the first one a lot and have seen it many times. But yeah, all I really remember about it is that Julia Roberts, Bruce Willis sequence. So it's due for a rewatch for me.
Spence, did you go, or were you just was that your statement?
Yeah, I just really like 8. It doesn't deserve hate.
Oh my god,
cool. It was cool.
That rhymes.
It's still the bottom.
Okay.
Oh my god,
Rue, what's your 76?
All right, here we go. So I have this somewhat hot take that Will Smith does not have the greatest run of 90s films out of actors. There's another person who has one, and that is Chris Tucker. And Chris Tucker is the epitome of Chris Tucker in Money Talks. He has not had a movie that is a box office bomb because it doesn't make that much. It doesn't take that much for his movies to be made. All his movies make money, and Chris Tucker is peak Chris Tucker. It's not just the side character only yelling. It's not 8 minutes to get killed in freaking Jackie Brown. This is, if you like Chris Tucker's comedy, this is the range of Chris Tucker comedy you get. You get the physical humor, you get the musical humor, you get the bits and the my first, my last, my everything is one of the greatest, it's funniest openings and uses of a song in comedy in my life. Vic Damone Jr. is known in the Black community because he was Vic Damone Jr. in this movie. It is a piece of Black culture because of this film. Not only that, it also cemented him as an action comedy star because the last 30 minutes of this film is a really good action set piece of getting different groups together at the Coliseum and just having a shootout on shootouts. And Chris Tucker, yes, the Brett Ratner movie, Chris Tucker going ham on all the one-liners, on being the lead while Charlie Sheen is playing off of him. I think the man is hilarious. And this is one of the most fun times I've ever had watching Chris Tucker movie from front to back because it isn't just one note from him. I love this movie to death. I can turn it on and watch it. This movie is right. It can't get no righter. Damn it.
I was about to say I haven't seen this, but as you're describing it, I remember I have seen this like on cable, like the year after it came out. I watched it on TV. When you say Chris Tucker's musical comedy, let's be real.
Use of music.
Chris Tucker's Michael Jackson impression. That's what you're talking about. That's his musical comedy.
He doesn't even do Michael Jackson in this film.
He doesn't? Because he does it 50 times in every other movie he's in. Shocking he doesn't do this one. Yeah, I barely remember it. So I'm not going to talk about it too much one way or the other. Wow. I'm looking up Tucker's 90s run. I think I'm going to disagree with you on that thesis. But
don't include how much money I'm talking relatively. Don't include how much money Will Smith.
I'm not.
But like in terms of movie for movie, I can knock a movie. I can go movie for movie with Will Smith and Chris Tucker. I've had this argument.
All right. Well, okay. Everybody else on Money Talks.
Haven't seen it.
Imagine if I yikes this for like a later episode.
I'd love it.
Yeah, I googled it. I made the same mistake that Bill Murray made briefly. I was like, "Oh, this is written by Joel Cohen." No, it's the Garfield Joel.
This
Cohen.
is the Garfield guy.
Yeah, it's the Garfield guy.
Fuck, Rue.
I will check this one out because it launched Brett Ratner, who I don't really care for, but I do like Rush Hour, so I gotta check it out. I don't know. Chris Tucker's hilarious. Like, who doesn't love Chris Tucker?
But
A lot of
not
people,
liking
but...
not liking Brett Ratner. Now there's a hot take.
Yeah.
Scott?
Oh, I haven't seen it.
And Spitz, you said you haven't? Okay, then Rue, we're on to your number 75.
My 75 is A Knight's Tale. I'm a little surprised by one person not, but I absolutely love this film to death. It has the greatest Paul Bettany performance. I want Chaucer to introduce me in absolutely everything. Again, another underdog story. Alan Tudyk is absolutely amazing. Heath Ledger is the heartthrob of heartthrobs. Again, just another sit down and rewatch this movie over and over and over again because you love the characters. You love watching everything go through. And it's just fun. It is the epitome of fun. When I say the best, I don't mean the actual best. I mean, you just love Chaucer as a character, damn it. If you haven't noticed, my movies aren't like actual top 100 movies. These are my favorite movies. And I like to have fun watching these movies. And I have a ball watching this one. Characters going through it. It's just, you sit down and you enjoy. And this is the ultimate enjoyable film.
I watched this movie up until they started singing "We Will Rock You," and I tapped out. And I know that's pretty early in the movie, so I haven't seen much of it. Everybody else on A Knight's Tale.
I haven't seen this yet. I've been meaning to. I feel like I would actually really enjoy it. It was on my list of shit for the year, and it's just not time for final watches yet.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've not seen it either. But it keeps coming up in this community, like as a movie, not just for Brew, like as a movie that people love. So I know I'm gonna have to watch it eventually. And I mean, it's Heath Ledger, so that's a plus right there.
Don't tell me you don't want Paul Bettany's Chaucer introducing you into every room you've ever been in.
No, you're absolutely right. It might be one of Paul Bettany's best performances. I think this movie's a lot of fun, and I really respect your list. I don't think you should feel bad. If I want, I'll go to the AFI list. If I want to, I don't know, watch a bunch of old bullshit.
Go to Andrew Barr's list.
Like in A Lonely Place.
Well, I wanted to look smart. I didn't know I was going to be sharing the this with a bunch of people who were just as immature as me. So
All right. Did everybody get to talk about this?
yeah, no one's seen it except for me, and I say it's good.
Okay, Rue, 74.
I'm glad you noticed, Michael, because that's exactly what's going to continue to happen. Jake, you kind of just mentioned it, but I actually like the sequel more. My 74 is Rush Hour 2. Yeah, so I think the Rush Hour 1 and 2 are two of the best buddy cop films, period. Fine, the Lethal Weapon movies are technically better movies, but I don't go back to them as often as I go to Rush Hour 1 and 2. Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan are perfect together. They are hilarious. And I just loved a lot more of what happened in 2 than I did in 1. And I think 1 is an absolute classic. But again, just bigger action set pieces, more hilarious one-liners to me up and down. I just love one. Again, I love Chris Tucker. I think Jackie Chan is one of the biggest stars on earth, and I love this movie as a back-to-back. I just have a more fun time with 2. And the whatever. And one of my favorite Don Cheadle cameos ever. How You a Black Man with a Chinese restaurant on Crenshaw Avenue. Fucking hilarious. Love this film. Yes, come on, Bar. Yes, Rush Hour is a classic. Absolute classic.
I have not seen Rush Hour 2. I saw Rush Hour 1, and I was good. I did not. A little bit of Chris Tucker goes a long way for me. So this one I have not seen yet. I was going to rewatch it for the show, but I just didn't get a chance to. Everybody else on Rush Hour 2.
I've only seen the first one. I'm in the same boat as Kirk. I like the first one. I think it's fun enough. It's just not the type of movie that really gets me excited. But I'm looking forward to talking about Silver Linings Playbook, which is Chris Tucker's best movie, of course.
May not be wrong.
I like it's one of my favorite outtakes where someone like falls over or something, and Chris Tucker's like, "Damn, he's not going to be in Rush Hour 3." Yeah.
Mine is when he continues to call him Jackie, and Don Cheadle says his name is Lee. Goddammit.
Yeah. I miss outtakes. Put more outtakes in these movies. Who cares? Fun.
Okay, I think we talked about this before, but I don't know if you remember. I have not seen a single Rush Hour film or a single Chris Tucker film. So
a single Chris Tucker film?
Not even one.
I don't know who's in some of
The Fifth Element.
So I guess one technically.
Brown.
But other than that, nothing.
All right, Rue, that was your 74. So we're coming over to Jake for your number 77.
At 77, I have Guillermo del Toro's masterpiece, Hellboy 2: The Golden Army. I like all of Del Toro's movies except for Pacific Rim. That movie, it's just like, I don't know, it's embarrassing. It made me embarrassed for him. And I know Kirk loves it too, and whatever. Fuck that movie. This movie has a better kaiju in it. Even it has the seed monster that falls in the grate, and then it grows into a giant like plant monster, and when they kill it, its blood spills out and grass grows everywhere. It's more imaginative and mystical than anything in Pacific Rim. But aside from that, I think that the match of Del Toro and Hellboy, Mike Mignola's Hellboy, it's possibly the best marriage of a filmmaker to any material ever. I mean, I have a Hellboy comic right here. If you look, like, that looks like a Guillermo del Toro drawing, and that looks like Ron Perlman. And del Toro was working with Ron Perlman long before he made even Hellboy 1. And Ron Perlman, the guy who's known for wearing face prosthetics, it's really remarkable, I think, how much these two were made to. Del Toro was made to adapt Hellboy, and Ron Perlman was made to play Hellboy. And even the Fishman actor what's his name?
Toby Jones,
Doug
not Toby
Jones.
Jones, Doug Jones.
Doug Jones. Yes, Doug Jones. Doug Jones gets to have a larger role in this. He gets to speak. It's not his voice in the first movie. They cut out the boring like human character that was kind of the protagonist of the first movie. I think that when they go to the troll village, the troll market, that's the closest I think that any movie has got to recreating the like kind of passive like background magic of the Star Wars cantina scene where there's just all kinds of crazy shit going on and your eye can be drawn anywhere and you're just going to be blown away by what you're seeing. There's a story in every moment of that whole sequence. And yeah, I fucking love this movie. I love all the characters. Yeah.
See, I was going to say nice stuff about Hellboy, but I got to allot my time to just the nonsense you were saying about Pacific Rim.
It's so boring.
Oh my gosh, you don't know what you're talking about. Hellboy 2 is this is. I mean, it's not a perfect movie by any stretch of the imagination. I really throughout both movies, I really just never care that much about his relationship with Selma Blair. Like that, it just doesn't do it for me at all. But it's fun, like you said, like they go to the Troll Town and all that stuff going on in the background, and just all the creature effects and everything are so good. Like he is perfect for this. It's such a great story. I love like just far out there comic book stories like this, and he really is the perfect person to adapt it because he's gonna do it right. You know, he's not going to shy away from the weirdness. There's a lot of weirdness in the movie. So yeah, I mean, like just weird Del Toro monster stuff is always going to be fun no matter what. So. Better than Pacific Rim, you're out of your mind, but it's still a pretty good movie. Everybody else on Hellboy 2.
I enjoy Hellboy 1 more, but this is still a great movie. Luke Goss and Guillermo del Toro sequels is always great. He does a good job here. I just felt number 1 was, I don't know, just felt a little bit more concise, while 2 was kind of all over the place. But still very enjoyable. So I respect this.
I really like this. I think you're insane for calling 1 better. But no, I get your love for it. I think it's a really fun movie. I think the whole elf plot is somehow interesting, even though they're super generic. But Del Toro's masterpiece, like you're actually on drugs. Like I don't know what the fuck. Like how this is better than anything else that he's done. Like it's not his worst film, but it's not in his like top half of like amazing shit he's made.
No. Yeah. All right. Basically, like he made Pan's Labyrinth, and it felt like critics were like, "Oh, now you can make more serious movies." He's like, "No, Hellboy 2. It's like respect, you know."
I'm lame tonight, and I haven't seen this one either. So sorry.
All right, then Jake, give us your 76.
Okay, so last week I was talking about how Gore Verbinski, he's got wet movies, and he's got some dry flicks too. He's got the slick flicks and the dry movies. And Kirk, you didn't really care for the slick flick that I picked last week. Would you like it more if it was a dry movie? Do you think?
Sure.
Well, too bad because I got another wet one. It's The Ring. This is a very this movie is drenched. Yeah, I love the Ring. One of the most honestly gorgeous horror movies of all time. The atmosphere, the tone of the whole thing. It's so foreboding. It feels so precise. What I really think elevates this, I think, to masterpiece status is the connection that the movie makes between birth, creating a child, and media. That's what the movie is really doing. It's about this mother who's worried about what her child might be, and it turns out that as she unravels the mystery of this videotape, there's this child, this cursed child. I won't spoil it too much, but and the connection that it makes about these cycles of violence and these cycles that you can pass on to your children and these cycles that art can pass on because art is expression and it's alive. And so yeah, I also think that this movie has one of the like greatest like last act twists or reveals where it'll just give you full body chills. At the time it gave me full body chills anyways, where I really didn't see it coming. And the way they commit to it, yeah, I think that everyone knows now there's a character that crawls out of a well and out of a TV. And the more I watch this movie, since I've watched it so many times, I see that as like this sort of supernatural, like a birthing scene in a way. I think it's a great movie.
Okay, yeah, I just watched this movie for the first time. Watched it for the show. I don't know. I'm kind of ambivalent on it. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I think like the imagery you're talking about. I think at this point, coming in late kind of hurts it because it's just been done to death and it's been copied and it's been parodied. It's almost like a Matrix type thing now, where you see that and you're like, oh, it's that.
Yes,
I think. I mean, I still think it's interesting. Like the actual thing is interesting. Like you said, like the stuff in the third act and the reveal is interesting. I think a lot of the way it gets there and how it works and the rules and the way things happen. I think a lot of that is kind of contrived. This is one where Naomi Watts does not do it for me. I think she's kind of boring, and I think that you need a more kind of charismatic actress and character in that role because the movie is kind of slow. It has that color palette, and you need someone to keep you a little more engaged. And she just doesn't. She's not it. But again, it's a fine movie. I was not disappointed in it. But it was at the same time wasn't anything like I was like, oh, this is so amazing. Everybody else in the ring.
I have not watched it, but I do love all the memes and gifs and videos that came from it afterwards of people beating her with a bat or throwing away the tape or whatever. Very fun.
I also have not seen it, but I also enjoy the gifs come out about it.
And I have seen it, and I think the movie is dope. Yeah, no, I think this is a good pick. It shows definitely Verbinski's versatility as a filmmaker. But I also this movie, I just have to point out, it has one of my favorite things in a movie, which is where a character actor or supporting actor who is mainly known for playing villains shows up and pretends to be a good guy at first, and you just know that he is just putting on, a show, and that he's gonna, and of course here it's Brian Cox shows up, and you think for about 5 minutes that he's gonna be, he's gonna be all right, but then when you think about, oh wait, this is Brian Cox. If they put Brian Cox in this role, it probably means there's gonna be a twist here. But yeah, overall the movie's really solid.
The monologue that he gives in this movie is remarkably close to his Stryker monologue in X2, where he also has an evil psychic child that torments people with images in their brain. Very weirdly,
it's a good Letterboxd list right there.
Yeah. Okay. So at my number 75, this movie is my bag. Some people would describe it as groovy, swinging, shagadelic, maybe. I'm talking Austin Powers, the spy who shagged me. Yeah. So I could have chose the first movie, but this one has Mini-Me in it. And if you know Mini-Me, he's like a little version of Dr. Evil. And the dynamic with Scott and the the whole opening sequence, the first Austin Powers movie, it really has like this emotional core at the relationship with Liz Hurley. That's like that's what keeps the movie kind of on the rails in a weird way. And this movie just dispenses with her like it's nothing. In the first like 5 seconds of the movie, a fembot comes up and like murders her, and it's just that's it. And it's this perfect Bond parody moment. And I think the thing now that makes me laugh the hardest is not Mike Myers' line readings, it's his physicality. The way that he dances is incredible. Now, I know, Kirk, you're going to hate this one, but it's great. And I'll also just take this opportunity say that I think this movie isn't mean-spirited, which I do feel that a similar movie, similarly dumb comedy that someone mentioned earlier, I found Dodgeball recently extremely mean-spirited in a way that this wasn't.
No circumventing the rules. You don't just talk about dodgeball.
Oh, I have a point about Dodgeball, but okay, that's fine.
Okay. Movie aside, I don't think any of you are old enough to remember the scourge that was Austin Powers on popular culture in the late 90s. And just, Rue, yeah, you might have been there for it, Rue, but the imitations and the impressions and the Halloween costumes and
Borat-like.
It was so much worse than Borat. So much worse. I mean, and I think Austin Powers, the concept and the humor is there's just paper thin. I mean, I was born on it like halfway through the first one. And then to live through like years of everybody doing that and then have another movie where it's all basically just the same jokes over again. No, this ain't it. This was, again, like I'm going to make a statement here that I think is pretty true. Mike Myers isn't funny. He's just not funny. He's not a funny guy.
I guess you haven't
Someone's never seen The Love Guru.
I mean, I think that's
we made the same joke.
That's classic. I mean, The Love Guru, Austin Powers, it's all the same humor. There's no difference there. But yeah.
So what you're saying is this sort of thing isn't your bag.
Yes, that is correct. But yeah, the first one is not great. This one, again, like I said, it's like Ace Ventura 2. It's just, hey, let's move the locations and things around, but it's going to be all the same jokes over again that everybody's already sick of. Yeah, this ain't it. Everybody else on Spy Who Shagged Me.
Hey, Kirk, I will say that his line in Inglourious Bastards, where he's like, "Oh, it looks like we have all our eggs in one basket. Our objective, blow up the basket." That's pretty funny. But yeah, I've only seen the first Austin Powers. It's not for me either. It's definitely not my brand of humor. So I haven't visited this one, but it's probably better that I haven't because I don't think I would have nice things to say.
I keep missing questions about all three of these films. I've been meaning to rewatch them. I've seen them on TV a couple times, and like they're fine, they're fun. I don't like love them, but they're there.
I've seen all three of these films in theaters, and I think The Spy Who Shagged Me is where it hit its stride. It's where it knew what it wanted to be and like took all the things that worked in the first one because it worked because it got 3 movies. It made a lot of money. And a lot of people actually think it's funny, but it took what it worked in the first one and just blew it up to epic proportions. Adding Mini-Me, getting more with Scott and Dr. Evil. I'm not as much as a fan as the third one, but these two, I do enjoy them, and I think this is the one that they want Austin Powers to be. So I like it.
Thanks, Rue.
Fuck you, Bar.
Okay,
there's 9 Fast and Furious movies. Sequels does not equal quality. Okay.
Yes, it does.
So now we're going to go back to the everybody's top 3 with a carousel round, starting with Scott. Oh no!
No.
We have one
Jake's
more.
74.
Yeah.
No, I still gotta say.
My bad.
Oh, 74.
Somebody get that, please.
Yeah, it's Collateral.
Yikes to another episode.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
Michael Mann facts.
All right, now we're looping around. Scott with your 73.
This probably isn't going to be talked about either. It's a film called 12 Angry Men.
We're stupid.
Oh my God.
Whoa. This is more shocking than Alien, maybe. So what we have here is one of the greatest classic films, one of the most accessible classic films of all time. 12 Angry Men, I feel like there's not much left to be said about this movie because it does get talked about in this community a lot for good reason. It's a masterpiece. I think it's a masterpiece in efficient storytelling, like the way that they set up each character just with that introductory dialogue before they're ever even talking about the case, right? Just like the conversations that they're having early on. just establishes each one of these men's personalities like so efficiently, like I said. And all of that pays off like a slot machine over the rest of the movie when you see how their different backgrounds, their different prejudices, their different, life experiences affect their perspective on the case when they decide to change their perspective on the case, how receptive they are to changing their perspective. It's just like a great portrait of America, honestly, like the different, all the different personalities and backgrounds again. And it's fascinating to watch this sort of very technical procedural discussion of this case all in one room. But it's crazy to say that this is one of the most accessible classic films because it's just 12 white dudes in a room talking. But like it is like, and it's just captivating to watch. And anyone I think who loves movies can get into this, even if you're not generally a classic film fan. Great cast of character actors from this era with people like Jack Warden and Martin Balsam, and obviously Lee J. Cobb playing juror number 3 is pretty electric. And just like some great moments again, like the setups and payoffs are so satisfying in the movie. Like the one that I always love is the he's talking about how people don't usually mean that they're actually going to kill someone when they say I'm going to kill you. And then later when Lee J. Cobb freaks out and he's like, I'm going to kill you. And he's like, oh, well, you don't really mean you'll kill me, do you? It's just such a great, satisfying payoff. And there's multiple moments like that in the movie. And his, Lee J. Cobb's rant at the end. And it's a great, like I said, sort of portrait of America, and the final moments of them like just walking out the door and telling each other their names is just like a perfectly subtle way to end the movie. It's 12 Angry Men. It's a masterpiece. What's wrong with all of you?
Nothing's wrong with me because I love this movie. This movie is great. Everything you said is so accurate. Just one of maybe the all-time greatest collection of character actors. And they're all given so much to do, and I just love the way, like you said, the characters are built up, and then you kind of find out like which one of each of what their bugaboo is for the case, and then how that's broken down. It's almost like episodic, and like that. It's like okay, so now we got to address this. It's like one person represents that aspect of the case, and it like expands on like their whatever's going on with them internally. And they have to break that down. And I say this all the time about this movie. My favorite part about it is that Henry Fonda's character, he's not a crusader. He's not on a mission to like prove something. He just says, "Hey, let's do our jobs. Yeah. Let's have the conversation and see. I may be wrong. He may be guilty, but we owe that much to at least have the conversation." And everything that comes out of that is so great. Lumet's directing is so good. Just the use of that space, the way the weather's the character, and you could feel the temperature and how that's affecting them. Just so many good things about this one. It's usually it's classic masterpiece. Everything, all the accolades it gets are completely deserved. Everybody else, what's wrong with you?
This is the classic movie I am most angry at myself for not seeing yet. But I've been busy with other movies, so yeah. But this is one I really, really, really want to see.
Bruce's been watching AVP Requiem over here instead.
Yeah, I have.
This is a great movie, like incredible. I get why it's arguably one of the best films ever made. It's not a favorite. I'm not sitting there on a Thursday night. You know what? 12 Angry Men is a good time. No.
Hey, Todd. What the fuck?
Go fuck yourself, Koho. Don't act all high and mighty backstage. It's just a good movie. I'm not gonna argue its quality. It's fucking incredible. It had one of the best scripts ever put to fucking paper. I don't want to watch it. I'll be like, oh, you know what? Yeah. Actually, let me pull up the props for a second. Look at me, I'm Kaleb Koho. I want to be smart. Let's put it on in the fucking.
Congratulations. That was one of the stupidest things that I've ever seen.
I want to hear Bar in the chat being like, you made your best of all time list, Bar, not favorite, best. Go fuck yourself. That's not how this show works. It's a great.
But my favorites are the best. That's why they're my favorites.
The vitriol on display tonight.
Oh, hilarious.
It's getting real.
90% of the time, I have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about.
Cole, your list is worse than mine. Shut the
The
fuck up.
70s is where it starts to get real. Like we're comfortable enough now where we can start really being mean. So this is where it gets good.
Except the person we're being
I've
mean to is
won my weeks, you dumb bitch.
I had 3 weeks.
Yeah, this movie's total bullshit compared to Austin Powers. It's in black and white. The script is just it's just too much talking. I don't know. Ugh. Why are they so angry? That's what I want to know.
All right. I know you're kidding, but it doesn't matter. I'm still holding that against you. Spence, what's your 73?
All right, my 73. We'll see if you like this. It is Brooklyn. Wow, no, yikes. If y'all couldn't tell, I like these little sappy, cute romance films from the 2010s. This is one of them. I just think it's a really sweet slice of life film, which normally I don't like, about Saoirse Ronan just moving to New York from Ireland, trying to find a life in America, and how she adjusts to it, and how she falls in love, and like the pressure from her family to not lose her Irish heritage. And this is one of those rainy day movies for me, where I can just sit down and take it in and just be washed over by like this really great aesthetic piece. And a man from the 1950s who's not total trash, and Emery Cohen. I'd love to see him play Han Solo because he is charming as shit in this movie. And even Donald Gleason, who's like has a smaller part, still plays like this really interesting character of like trying to show love and fall for someone who he knows probably won't want to be with him, but still wants to give it a shot. I love seeing her life, and I love following her through it. And this is a comfort movie for me.
I hate to say that I have not seen this one yet, because Saoirse's my girl, and I love just the way you describe that. Like, I wanna see her live in this movie. So I will definitely be watching it as soon as possible. It's been on my list forever. I just haven't if this showed up like on HBO Max tomorrow, I'd watch it. I just haven't I haven't paid to rent it. But it's definitely something I want to see. Everybody else seen this one?
Yeah, I kind of like how this. I like how this movie's just kind of nothing. Like it's nice, you know. Like it's just a vibe. Throw it on. Like it's kind of nothing though. It's what I like about Grease, honestly. Like it's kind of a nothing movie, and nothing too tragic or too extreme. It's just I don't know, in one ear out the other, you know.
I love this movie. It's fabulous. This was the epitome of a movie that, when it came out, I took my then girlfriend at the time to see, and I was like, "Oh, this will be a nice thing to take her to see Brooklyn, whatever." And then by the end of the movie, I was like the one who was like an emotional wreck. And yeah, it's a beautiful movie. Very simple story for sure. But I just love all of the little moments. Like I love them at the boarding house with Julie Walters playing the head of the boarding house, and they're just at the dinner table chilling, and when she goes to visit Emery Cohen's family, and they're all really funny. It's a very sweet movie, low conflict in my opinion, because the choice that she ends up having to make between the two dudes is a pretty easy one, but a very nice time, and I highly recommend it.
Haven't seen it.
Nominated for Best Picture.
All right. Rue, give us your number 73.
All right, we're going back to another comedy classic. It was a Run by Fruiting. Mrs. Doubtfire. There's just peak Robin Williams, and Mrs. Doubtfire is peak Robin Williams. This is where you fell in love with him. This is where I fell in love with him. Just being able to do all the voices he does, the relationships he builds with his kids, how much fun he has, the incredible improv, the story as a kid that you connect with in terms of just wanting to have that relationship with your father and not really realizing that man's kind of a fuck up. Just a bit. And this is the one thing that was really interesting about this movie, watching as a kid and watching as an adult, is how they portray Sally Field. because as a kid, and this could be for some people, this is a knock on the movie, and then as I got older, I understood why it's a knock on the movie, but I kind of look at it as a different way. But as a kid, absolutely thought she was just a killjoy of all killjoys. And then as you get older and really start understanding the position she's in, you're like, man, they actually set it up really well that as a kid, you'll not like her. But as a adult with responsibilities, you still laugh like you're supposed to with Robin Williams, but you understand where Sally Field is coming from and how much this man is like not good as a husband. And I really like how they ended the film. Like, no, they don't get back together. No, they don't reconcile. They just find a way to be two adults parenting children and co-parenting in a good way and figuring that out. While you have an absolute blast laughing at everything Robin Williams does. I think it's legitimately one of the best comedies and one of the best quote unquote family comedies that's ever been put on screen. So.
Yeah. I've said it before about this movie. I've never sat down to watch it start to finish, but I'm pretty sure I've seen it its entirety because back in the early 90s, this movie was just everywhere. Like, it was always on TV, always on cable. You went over to your friend's house, they were watching it, or their parents were watching it. You watched 20 minutes, 30 minutes here or there. So pieced together, I've probably seen the whole thing. Again, I mean, you probably guess it's not a movie that I love. I'm not a huge fan of Robin Williams. Like, I like him much more as a serious actor than his comedic stuff. But this one, I think, is it kind of like tones him down enough. You have those like heartfelt, real moments where he's not just like a clown the whole time, and I really enjoy that. And I think you see like the sport. I mean, even though this is after Dead Poet Society and Good Morning Vietnam, a lot of his serious stuff. I think you see a lot of like the stuff you'll see like later, late 90s, early 2000s from him, with Good Will Hunting and all that. That kind of just more heartfelt, real character. I wish he just would have been like a dramatic actor like through his career. I would have loved to see it. I would have seen that alternate reality where he's just like a serious actor all the time, because I think we would have got a lot more great performances out of him. But yeah, again, this is a movie, inoffensive. I don't love it, but I understand your connection. And you make a good point about how it kind of, it's more, it doesn't have like that, I love you, I made the mistake and everything, we're gonna get back together. Like, no, we still need to stay apart because this doesn't work. And that's realistic. And I like when movies like this are realistic. Everybody else, this is Doubtfire.
This is one, like, I totally understand why people love it and totally get it showing up on a top 100 favorites list. For me, it's just like a nice movie to watch on what was formerly known as ABC Family. I forget what it's called nowadays, but
Freeform.
Yeah, Freeform. That is about all it is to me. But like I said, I get it. Like, especially for Robin Williams devotees, this is probably, top of the mountain.
Yeah, I think there's a case to be made that this is maybe the least objectionable movie ever made. Like, maybe the least objectionable movie ever made. Where, like, I think you could show this to like an 8-year-old, and you could show this to like an 80-year-old of like all demographics, and I think that most people would just be like, yeah, it was good. Like, it's not gonna blow many people. I mean, it doesn't blow me away personally. It's kind of in that Brooklyn territory where it's like, yeah, you could just throw that on and have a good time. So, yeah, that's how I feel about that. Unlike my next pick.
All right, everybody go on.
You can just skip me. It's fine. It's
go ahead. What do you got to say, Spence?
I've never seen it.
Okay.
So young.
It's one of the biggest. I know it like it. I just haven't gone around to it because I hated fucking Robin Williams when I was like 12 and like edgy. I just haven't gotten to it.
You were edgy 12-year-old.
I'm still edgy, just differently.
All right, Jake. Now you're gonna give us your 73.
Okay, so now my 73 is like a super objectionable movie, which falls in line with most of my list. I feel like it's Spring Breakers. Yeah, Spring Breakers. Okay, So the movie that basically like launched A24, it's a surprise hit. Probably because Harmony Korine cast a bunch of like Disney tweed idols that were now adults and could make something this bizarre and subversive. I think the opening of the movie kind of says it all, where Harmony Korine just kind of has to like turn the volume up like 10% on all of this MTV imagery that they're showing of like debauchery and chaos, and all of a sudden it looks like you're viewing like this modern Renaissance painting of like hell. And yeah, I think that Harmony Korine equally it would be a lot of these movies could feel kind of finger waggy at the monstrous characters, but he's really interested in exploding the monstrous culture that like birthed these monsters. And yeah, James Franco, unfortunate creep James Franco is fantastic in it. He knows exactly what the movie wants from him. He got nominated for an Oscar for it, which is one of the coolest Oscar nominations in the past, like,
It's not true.
yeah, what he did not get nominated?
No. Oh, I thought you were actually making a joke.
No, he did, didn't he?
No, he didn't.
Oh, he should have. Okay. Thanks for the correction. Alien, his character Alien is fantastic. Yeah, I just love how this is a movie that some people would go and see and say, "What the fuck was that?" And I walk out of it, I'm like, like it fucking rules. I love this movie. So I'm curious to hear what everyone thinks of Spring Breakers.
This is definitely the best Harmony Korine movie, at least out of what I've seen. I think it is weird, but he's done weirder in a bad way. This is, yeah. I mean, I love James Franco. I think he makes the movie. His character, like you said, he's just so out there, and he's going for it, and he's playing like that that kind of character that's in that world. But he just like has his foot on the gas pedal, and he's not letting up. And and you should hate him. Like, he's a character you should hate. Like if I saw that guy in real life, I would hate his guts. But there's something about the way he plays it. He's like kind of charming and has like that charisma. Like that kind of, like when he's in the room, he's like, look at all my shit, and he's like, he just so desperately wants people to love him and like him, and he kind of has that vulnerability to him. So I think he's a really interesting character. And the rest of it, yeah, I mean, it's a fun like crime movie. I enjoyed it. I've only watched it one time. I don't think I don't think it was that like way out there. Like I said, especially compared to some of his other stuff. And maybe I went in expecting, because it was him, I expected crazier. So it didn't seem that bad to me. But I liked it.
I do think they kind of tricked people, though. Like, they tricked a certain audience into going to see that.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Everybody else on Spring Breakers.
This is the one where James Franco basically becomes riffraff from G's to Gents, right? with the braids and everything.
Yeah, he is riffraff.
Yeah, I definitely haven't seen this one. No.
Oh, it's fantastic.
So here's what I will say. I saw this when it came out, hated it. I found it completely empty, all style, nothing else. But I will say, I will qualify it and say that, I mean, again, that was back when it came out. I've not watched it again. I did watch Harmony Korine's last movie, The Beach Bum, which I actually had a decent time with. So maybe my tastes have matured to where I would actually get something out of Spring Breakers if I were to rewatch it, but my memories of my lone watch are not fond.
This movie is 12 Angry Men compared to Beach Bum.
It doesn't have Zac Efron talking about how Creed is the best Christian rock band or whatever. Like the Beach
That's
Bum.
the high point of that movie. Spence, you see this one?
I feel like Jake is our alien of just every week. Just like, look at my shit. Look at my shit. It's not good. There's a couple like good scenes, and like Franco is fun, but like as a whole, it's not good. Like it's this. this maybe since my bottom 100, it's not a good time.
There's also a very real take that this is like low key a Britney biopic, and like I can see it. Like you should do some reading on this, everyone. If there's a great video essay on this. I forget who it is, but yeah, I don't think it's an accident there's a Britney song in this.
All right, Spence, you get to tell us what is good. What is your? Oh no, Scott. We're on Scott now. Scott, what's 72?
Yes.
I know.
How does this show work? My 72 is another Christopher Nolan film, Memento. Yeah, this was kind of like my gateway into Christopher Nolan, I guess. I mean, I had seen, I guess, the Batman movies, the first couple, and, really liked them, of course. But this was the one that, like, blew my mind. Like, oh, wow, because, this is one of his puzzle box movies. And, the one that he sort of made his name off of. And I was, like, walking around for weeks, like, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen when I first saw it. And it's still really good. Obviously the way that the movie is structured it's pretty ingenious, the way that they're able to pull it off going from backwards to front, and it really has that effect of giving you short-term memory loss, right? Just like Leonard in the movie, because you're constantly thinking back to the last scene, trying to remember what you just saw, so that you can piece the plot together and put the puzzle pieces together. And so it's a very high degree of difficulty to pull something off like that, and to not have it frustrate viewers, right? To have you like actually engaged and wanting to keep trying to solve the mystery, and not being like, forget this is too difficult, this is not worth the effort. Guy Pearce, like, honestly, this is one of the best performances in a Nolan movie. Like, the just blank slate like that he is for most of the movie. Like, he's very believable as this guy who's constantly experiencing memory loss. The other two supporting performances by Carrie-Anne Moss and Joe Pantoliano, I mean, they're constantly having to change their persona from scene to scene. And, there's that effect, that, really tense effect of, like, you don't know, like, who he can trust. He doesn't know who he can trust. Like, you don't know when they're manipulating him, because you don't really know what has happened already. Like, you're still working your way back. And it's a very, like, bleak movie as well for Nolan. Like, the place that it ends up is like, it doesn't make you feel great about human nature and what we're all doing here on this world, but nevertheless, I think the movie is still a really fun and unique watch. I mean, there's still really never been anything like this movie, and it really showed what Nolan would become, not just, again, making the popcorn stuff like the Batman movies, but his more experimental original projects. I think this was a great gateway into that, and still holds up as one of his best movies. Get out of here. Leave.
I'm really glad that you brought up a good Nolan movie today. Yeah, this is I rewatched this recently, and what I think is cool is not just the fact that they're giving you the one story, the main story, going backwards, but the way they're bringing the two stories together.
Yeah.
Is really fascinating to me. I think it's really good. I think this is Nolan when he was doing stuff like this, but he was doing it to like make a good movie and entertain the audience, instead of just like sitting down a fresh look at the screen, like, look how smart I am, which is basically what he does now, and it's not nearly as much fun. I like this this Nolan much more than I like later, but that's my take on him. I think he's early half of the career is much better than the second half, but I think this is still fantastic. It's just a lot of fun. It's like it's a very like Hitchcockian movie, but it has that spin on it because the way it's I love that scene where he's he just, the scene starts, he's like, okay, what am I doing? Okay, I'm chasing this guy. The guy starts shooting. He's like, oh no, I'm running from this guy. He turns around, like, just stuff like that is just so cool. And it's just a fun. So you got like that noir feel to it. But just with that extra added layer of storytelling. So I really like this one. This is top at least 4 Nolan for me, maybe top 3. Really, really solid pick. Everybody else on Memento.
Oh man, I was doing so good this week. This is Nolan's most overrated film. I've sort of soured on him as a filmmaker over the past couple of years. Here's the thing. I think this doesn't really work on the rewatch. Like, first one, I think it's a super interesting plot. I think it's really engaging. I just don't really give a shit when you get back around, it's like, okay, like I don't feel invested anymore because now it's like the whole thing is the mystery, and the rest of the film around it isn't. It's just the mystery. There's nothing else to. Fuck you, Scott. And I think at the very least, like a lot of people agree. I think people who didn't watch it when it came out and are like finding it later in life, like either they already knew the plot twist or like home video. There's easier, like more time to rewatch shit. It's like it's really just sort of soured in general, and I have to agree with it. Bar, I haven't seen Spanglish, but I know there's a good ass.
How did this become a debate?
I don't know how you could call this the most overrated movie by the most overrated director of the 2010s.
Because enough people shit on his bad films like Dunkirk and
Don't worry, Kirk. We'll get there. Don't worry.
Oh my
we'll
gosh.
get there.
Okay, everybody else will admit I'll stop.
Spence, it's a mystery film, so it's about the mystery.
It should have more than that. It's just one fucking thing.
Look,
one fucking thing is over on second watch.
I had this hovering around the bottom 10 of my top 100, and the only reason is because I came to it late. I've only seen it once, and I want to see it again. But I was lucky enough after 19 years to not have the actual plot spoiled for me. So I was able to watch it fresh, and it was just as amazing. I also, though, I don't believe Nolan is overrated. He's one of my favorite directors. So there's that. But I think this is an amazing film. I think the story is also amazing, made better by the way it's told and the mystery behind it because it's a mystery film. So.
I just want to chime in and say Spanglish is a piece of shit.
Thank you.
Everyone, people forget this. Back in the day, the original Scorsese saying that like superheroes aren't cinema or whatever the fuck he's saying. The original outrage was over David Cronenberg saying that Nolan sold out after Memento and that superhero films weren't like worthy art in the same way that something like Memento was. So Cronenberg's definitely not on the side that he, I think he really respected this movie and then kind of soured on later Nolan. I think that one thing that's really interesting is it's really hard to have a character that has no memories because a character is all of their experiences. So I think a really smart thing that this movie does is it makes the town react to his memory loss. Every other character in the movie is like, they're so ready and formed around this weirdo who like can't remember anything over like an hour or whatever. And I think that's what's so interesting about the movie, actually.
All right, Spence, hit us with number 72.
Hey, Kirk, we're friends, right? We're close. We're shut the fuck up, Kyle. Give me a second. I gotta build up to this. So you know how I just like totally shit on a movie that you really love. We're gonna ignore that happened and talk about one of the best comedies of all time, MacGruber. This is like one of the most anti-me films, right? It has some really like immature, dumb fucking jokes.
Stop. Yeah, that's it.
There's a subplot about shoving vegetables up your ass. Really obsessed with numbers and letters for some reason. But it's so funny. Like, Will Forte is so dedicated to making one of the dumbest fucking movies and making one of the dumbest fucking characters. Like, this isn't me like saying the movie's bad. I think it's so dumb that it's smart. It so like narrowly navigates the line of how it could turn into like this flaming pile of shit that most SNL movies are, and create something so indelible, so like iconic even. The fact that you can hire like some huge names from wrestling for one joke and fucking kill them all, and then focus on generic white guy number 45 as one of your main characters, and he's still interesting. This movie has no reason to work as well as it does, and I know I just lost this week with this fucking pick, but MacGruber is amazing. And you know what? I just watched it with some fucking friends, and Mike Hanley fucking loves the movie, and it's a great time. This is one of the go-to, like, you haven't seen it, let's just put it on like at midnight and get really drunk and watch it. Because this has so much fun to be like rot from it.
Yeah, there's a lot of dumb immature jokes.
Yeah.
There's nothing else you say about it. It's just so
5 out of
dumb,
5.
but not in a good way. Honestly, I had to watch this for trivia. I never wanted to see this movie ever, and I had to watch it for trivia, and it wasn't as god awful as I thought it was going to be. I wasn't completely miserable the whole time, but it's not good. Like just Will Forte is another one he's funny on Saturday Night Live, like he's funny in small doses, but you put him in charge and let him do whatever he wants, and you're not going to have good things happen. It's just ridiculous in the worst possible way. I just hate this type of comedy so much. It's like, hey, think of something really dumb right now, and we're going to do that because it's funny because you just thought of it, and we're going to stretch out to a 10-minute scene. Nah, everybody else on MacGruber.
Kirk, shut your butt.
Haven't seen it, don't want it.
Yeah.
Rue, you gotta watch it. It's so good.
Rue, you gotta watch it. It's good.
I've yet to see it either. I will say though, I think I would actually like this. I think this feels like the level of ridiculous that would be up my alley. Like like something like Hot Rod or Popstar. The Andy.
Oh no,
Andy
it's
movies.
not even close.
Okay,
Popstar's
maybe
smart.
I
This is
misjudged
like
it. But
dumb.
I will say I did really like the MacGruber sketch back in the day on SNL. The one he did
3 minutes, perfect.
the one he did, I think, with Charles Barkley. I think it was Charles Barkley who was in the one in particular. I still remember that one being really funny. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'll watch it at some point.
Christopher Nolan is apparently a big fan of this movie, which is interesting.
Come on, Scott. Come on, Scott.
I
don't worship at his grave like some people do.
Anybody else? Did everybody talk about this one? Did you go to it, Jake?
Yeah, I already talked about it. I said shut your butt.
Okay. All right. So, Rue, what is your number 72?
We're heading back to TNT, everybody. It's National Treasure. This is, you see the reactions. National Treasure is just perfect. It really is. I love like solving puzzles and getting riddles and going on to the next one. I love Nicolas Cage. You put those two together and you just try to go on the ride with them. And this is the movie and the franchise that deserves a sequel more than anything else that I can think of ever. You love Benjamin Bates. What the hell is her name? I am Helen of Troy in Troy.
Abigail, Diane Kruger.
Diane Kruger, yeah, Diane Kruger plays really well off her. I don't remember his sidekick, but he's hilarious. It's just just the funnest of fun times. And you get the randomest of randomest Harvey Keitel roles, and he's in it. Everybody knows what they're doing here. Everybody knows this is just it's kind of like a ride at a theme park in movie form. You just have fun, and Sean Bean doesn't die, which is always nice to make that he doesn't die. And he's actually really formidable as an antagonist to this type of protagonist, and it's not just a throwaway random person. It's somebody who's just as formidable in intelligence and ruthlessness. So let's go steal the Declaration of Independence, everybody.
I rewatched this one for the first time in a while a few weeks ago. It's fine. I think it's fun. I mean, I think you said like it's a great concept. I love the world building, like the history, like that secret like society and that secret like parallel history. I think that's a lot of fun. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not going to sit here and like check off a list of everything I didn't like about it. But I'm not just talking to you, I'm talking about community-wide, audience-wide. I just don't get the overwhelming passion for this movie. Like you said, it's a good Saturday afternoon movie. If it's on TV and I'm sitting there and you put it on, I'm not going to complain. But it just, I cannot. This is one of those movies I just cannot wrap my head around the. I cannot wrap my head around the just the absolute love and passion for this movie. Nicolas Cage, I think I don't get him either. I mean, to me, he's a meme. He's not bad in this. Nobody's bad in this. There's nothing negative to say about this movie, but just it doesn't deserve all love it gets. Everybody else on National Treasure.
So Kirk's no longer the host of the show. We're getting rid of him. Okay, so this is not a perfect movie. I'm not gonna put it on the fucking sight and sound list next year. But it's so fun. This is one of the most rewatchable movies ever made. Because it's such a simple concept, just like, hey, let's just like do a heist, not a heist film, but just like let's steal some like famous shit and let's travel the world. And it's so fun. It is so insanely fun that I don't know a single kid growing up if you're like, hey, you want to National Treasure? Like, no, I don't know anyone who would say no besides fucking Kirk, apparently.
I just said I wouldn't say no. I just literally said I wouldn't say no.
Do you think I listened to you after, do you think I listened to you after you say like, you know what, National Treasure? It's fine, I guess.
Someone's on trial here, but I can't tell who it is.
This show is like us like driving Kirk slowly insane with these picks and being like, hey, I love it, National Treasure. Like, the movie fucking rules. Rue, you're a national treasure. You're a national treasure.
Don't suck up to him. He doesn't like your list. Fight him.
I don't know. No, that's not what this is anymore.
So a few years ago, when I went to Philadelphia for the first time, I like made a list of things I wanted to do, and among them was find the Urban Outfitters that they go to in National Treasure.
Yes,
it's actually not in Philadelphia, unfortunately. But that's how rooted this movie was in my childhood. I talked earlier about The Grapes of Wrath, how that was the movie that you know your teacher's like, oh, we're going to put this on today. And you look at your buddy and you're like, oh, God. National Treasure is the movie in history class where, like, we're going to put this on. You look at your buddy and you go, let's go. The movie, it's a ton of fun. And Cage is, like, perfectly cast as, like, the archaeologist who is just, like, too enthusiastic about, like, the stuff that he's into. And, like, when he's at the freaking gala or whatever and he's, like, talking to Abigail and the other guy who's there, like, fancy setting, and he's just like overly geeking out about all of the history and all that stuff. He's perfect for the role. The movie is so much fun. It could have been on my list, honestly.
Is this the last time that they like a major studio like Disney pretended that like Nicolas Cage and Jon Voight were like normal human beings that could like just totally lead like a family comedy? Like, it's so bizarre in retrospect.
Not the last time, because we got National Treasure 2.
Yeah, we got National Treasure 2.
Better.
Which National Treasure 2, it ends with them alluding to like solving the JFK like the killing of JFK, which also another Nicolas Cage movie, The Rock, ends with that as well.
Are you thinking of The Rock?
We have National Treasure 3 about solving the Zodiac case. Now that we know who it is.
But isn't that weird? Did Nicolas Cage put this in the movie, or did he choose these movies because of that?
Who knows? All right, that takes us, Jake, to your number 72.
At 72, I have Uncut Gems. Okay. Yeah, Uncut Gems. When I first saw this movie, I was like, like digital cameras fucking rule because you can do all this shit. And then you learn that they actually like shot this all on film, and it's like, holy shit, like that's new. Like, I see something like people are like, oh yeah, Joker. It's like Martin Scorsese, and it's like, yeah, you kind of remade like two Scorsese movies. You set it in the 70s, and people are all of a sudden like, oh yeah, it's just like Scorsese. And it's like, no, the Safdies with Uncut Gems are doing something that like, that is what a young Scorsese would be doing today. Something like this, that's like ADHD, like just a fucking rush from beginning to end. I just had a blast. I was grinning the whole time. I was surprised when people came up when we talking about this movie afterwards. People are like, it's just too stressful. It's too much. It's a bad time. It's a headache. And I was just like, what are you talking about? This is a fucking blast. Like, I thought this movie was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it is super stressful, but in a great way. Like, it's just so, like, you're just holding your breath. And what I love about this movie is like how he's constantly like pushing his luck, and you're always waiting for the shoe drop, and how kind of like it plays with your expectations. Like, you know, like when he's at the doctor's office, you're like, oh, you know, he's going to get cancer, and he doesn't get cancer. And then, you know, that scene where he's hiding from his girlfriend, you're like, oh, she's going to walk in with another guy. He's going to see with another guy. It's like, no. And then, you know, like when he makes that bet at the school play, like, oh, he's going to lose his bet, and he's like, it works out for him. Like it keeps like pushing you. You're like, okay, he made it through this one, and then he just keeps pushing his luck, and it's such a crazy ride. I love this movie so much. I love the movie. Almost makes, like, I'm not a gambler at all, but it also makes, it's almost like a sports movie about, and gambling is the sport, and you like see like the rush through his eyes. I love Sandler in this. It took me a while to get through because he's doing that like gooby gabby voice that I'm so accustomed to being like a joke, and like it took me a good like most of the first act to like for that to click for me, like in this movie and in that role, him doing that kind of character. But like the rest of the movie was great. I think he's fantastic. I do think he got robbed of the nomination. I think he was one of the best performances this year. Yeah, it's so much fun, and just the exhilaration that you get through him, and as kind of pathetic his life is when you see like those last 20 minutes or so, like 20 of the most intense minutes I've ever seen in a movie. Just like watching that, like everything. I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it, but it's yeah, this is a really good movie. Everybody else on Uncut Gems.
Amazing movie. I saw it multiple times after it came out. And in fact, I saw it once in theaters where a fight broke out next to me in the theater, which I felt like was pretty on par with the movie that we were watching. But yeah, Sandler deserved the nomination, if not the win. I mean, I don't know. DiCaprio was in there too, I guess. But it's a close call. Like he's amazing in the movie, and the Safdies they know how to use his manic energy so well. It's not like Sandler's doing anything super different from what he's done before, to Kirk's point, but it just works so well in the world that the Safdies create, with all the choices that they're making. Also, I think Julia Fox is great as like the heartbeat of the movie, like because Howard, you're fascinated watching him, but he is like despicable. But Julia Fox is like the person that we as the audience actually kind of care about. And so that it's nice to have that sort of emotional centerpiece to the movie as well. And hey, KG can act as well. He goes toe to toe with Adam Sandler in some of these scenes, and it's pretty impressive. But yeah, this is one of the best movies of 2019. It's fabulous.
Anything is possible.
This is a great movie. Like it's so. I think to this day, like my most popular Letterboxd review is saying that this is a movie that made me care about basketball. Like it takes a lot for a movie to turn an anxiety attack into a good time, which is what this basically was. You just sit there for like almost 2 hours, and you're panicking, you're sweating, your heart is just going crazy. And you want to watch it again and again and again. This wouldn't be on my top 100, but it's a great pick.
This movie is wild. It is a train wreck that you can't keep your eyes off of. It was an enjoyable time. Those last 15 minutes are like, oh damn. So
the other thing I want to mention, but talking about how they play with your expectations. I love this so much. That scene where they have that big fight, and then he goes back to the apartment, and he's looking for her, and the bathroom door is just cracked slightly, and there's a light on, and you're like, oh, she killed herself, and it's like in any other movies, they purposely do that. They keep putting like tropes in, and then like they just don't pay off, but like in a good way. Like that
is great observation. Yeah. You're
I
totally trying to get ahead of the movie, and the movie's 5 steps ahead of you.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I love. That's what I love about one of the things I love so much about this movie. Great pick, Jake. So we're coming up to everybody's number one pick for the night. They're number 71, starting with Scott.
All right, my 71, one of my favorite biopics, I, Tonya. Yeah, this movie is just like everything I want in a biopic and what we don't get nearly enough. I think there are just so many stale, run-of-the-mill, not adventurous biopics out there. oftentimes complemented by a lead performance that is just somebody doing a hair and makeup job, as I would like to say. And that's just not what I, Tonya is at all. First of all, Craig Gillespie brings such a unique style to the movie that obviously he's kind of made it his thing now with Cruella too, if you saw that one. The way that he's able to get like dark humor out of it, what's going on, his use of music, like his use of like the 80s dad rock, basically. In no way would you think that would work in a movie like this, but there are some like electric music moments, like when she lands the triple axel and it hits the Foreigner song, Feels Like the First Time. That's just like, you would just want to pump your fist. Like, it's such a great moment. But also, I mean, Margot Robbie, like one of the best biopic performances I've seen. For as good as the rest of the cast is, and is often talked about, like this movie doesn't work without her. She's just operating at such a high level here. Some of she digs so deep in some of these emotional scenes, like when she goes in front of the judge and the judge sentences her, and she, that breakdown that she has about like, I just want to skate again. Like, it breaks your heart. It really does, because the movie actually makes you think about Tonya Harding and care about Tonya Harding outside the context of this thing that, famous thing that she's known for doing, which is a bad thing. And the movie doesn't lionize her, certainly. It just says, hey, look, there's more to her than this. You have to consider the circumstances that brought her to the point that she got to. Also, of course, the makeup scene in the mirror, like, is a often gift moment, but that's like just incredible acting. And yeah, again, like I said, the humor works really well and never like diminishes the tone of the movie. Like when Jeff Galooly's his pickup line of Tanya is one of the greatest pickup lines ever, when he just says, "So you like food?" And Paul Walter Hauser is a lot of fun as the dim-witted henchman. And if you like watch the real life footage of this guy, you watch the movie and you're like, oh, no way. Like, this is a caricature or whatever of the real guy. And then you watch the real guy and you're like, nope, that's pretty spot on. Like, this is Sean Eckhart or whatever, I think is the name of the guy. Yeah, like I said, this is just such a like electrifying movie to watch. That's just the word that comes to mind. And I just wish so many more biopics had the energy to really go for it in the way that this movie does. And like the fourth wall breaking type stuff is really effective too. It would be a better place if we got more like this and less like, I don't know, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, I think it's a great pick. I really love this movie. I really had a good time with this. I think the tone is just so perfect. Like it just walks that range where it's like it's a comedy and they're showing you the ridiculous of it, but they never really demean or disrespect the people. I think they're shown as they are, but it's not like you're never meant to like point and laugh. Like it's like ha ha ha, look at these stuff stupid these people are. Like it gives you an understanding of where they come from. Like I love that line where she, after what happens to Nancy Kerrigan, she's like, oh, she got hit once and everybody's freaking out. She's like, I've been getting hit my whole life. Nobody cared.
Yeah.
Like just seeing it from like her perspective. And yeah, the whole cast is great. And just again, just the way this was one of my favorite scenes in the movie that year was at the end when the story's over and the media's been like camped out on her lawn and the story's done. There's another report. Everybody's leaving and the room's empty. And they pan down to the TV and you see the white Ford Bronco and the OJ chase. And that's just such a great statement of like the media and how it like use these people.
Puts it in perspective.
Yeah. So yeah, I love this movie. I think and I agree with you. Like, I feel like it's like kind of like a little bit like the Big Short, but like Adam McKay's always like forcing ideas down your throat. Where this movie like lets you like explore. It like says like presents it to you and like lets you explore it. I really love that about it. Yeah, it's a really really strong movie. Everybody else tonight, Tonya.
It's a really good movie. Like real, I felt like alone in my love for it in 2017. Everyone was like just Robbie in that saying like, no, this is amazing. They would never say my top 100, but like it was like my top 5 of 2017. It's not the Craig Gillespie pick or movie I would pick, but that's just me.
I think I know what you're alluding to.
That's a very me movie. Like,
I randomly saw like a 30-minute section of this movie, and was very surprised on how they actually like kind of made it mockumentary style or like media style, and I wasn't expecting that. So this is one of the ones that I've been meaning to go back to for a long time to actually watch. So hearing this, I'm excited to watch it.
Okay, so I fucking hate this movie. I think this movie is a piece of shit. I think that all of the comedic elements in this movie are so miscalibrated. I think that you could really sum up all of the problems with this movie to Allison Janney's cartoonish performance as an abusive mother. Ah ha ha, it's so funny. She just hit her kid on the back of the head. This movie has no empathy for these characters. The performances are extremely empathetic. I think Margot Robbie is really good in the movie. I think Sebastian Stan is really good in the movie as an abuser. But and I think that he plays that character with a lot of integrity, surprisingly. But especially I think she ended up Allison Janney, didn't she end up winning the Oscar for this? I thought that was terrible.
She should not have gotten it over
Terrible.
Laurie Metcalf. I agree with you there, but like she is good. I do think she's good.
No, Gillespie. I listened to an interview with him, and he said, she's the interviewer saying, oh, how did she get into the mindset of such a monster? And Craig Gillespie, his answer was like, yeah, but don't you still just kind of love her? And I was like, no, this is insane. This is what's wrong with this movie. You have no control of the tone of what's going on. I found it, I just found the whole thing, yuck. No thanks.
So, Rue, how does it feel to get second place this week?
Oh, I don't have any thoughts of being that high this week at all.
All right, Spence, give us your number one or your 71.
We're talking about a fun movie. Just love to just watch on a Thursday. My 71 is Fruitvale Station. Ooh. This is a fucking sucker punch of a movie, let me tell you. I watched it for the first time in 2013, and I honestly can't even tell you why. I just was at a Redbox, like, you know what, let's watch this. I was not ready. Like, this destroys me so much that I even considered not putting it on my list because it was just really hard to watch. And then I rewatched it for a Full Metal Deep Cut. And I'm like, I just love this film so deeply. I need to pull up my actual information. Like, I love it so deeply. How like you get really just genuinely connected to Oscar Grant's life. And even though it's it's a single day, but following through with him and seeing like he's not a perfect guy, but seeing how he's trying to like take care of his daughter and with his family and this relationship that they build, and it's beautiful to see a life in motion, and even in like its little moments. Now this day isn't extraordinary, but it's just a day in his life, and seeing it all get ripped away, and I forget what was happening when I stopped. I knew it was very pertinent, and just it always is, but just. For me, like the biggest part of the film is the cop at the end and just being like, why did you do it? He's like, I thought he pulled out a gun, which again, like something happened that week. I'm like, holy fuck, it's still a thing like nearly 10 years later, and it's so hard to watch, but I still find myself thinking about it and just wanting to watch it, which is weird. But it's just it's an incredible piece of art, and Coogler is one of our best filmmakers, and this is proof.
Yeah, this is a really solid pick. I enjoy is not a great word for this movie, but I mean this movie had a real impact on me. I love the way it's presented. The movie it's not trying to say anything. It's not like telling you what to think. It just says, here's this guy's life. And they don't sugarcoat it. They don't sugarcoat the fact that he sold drugs or that he was irresponsible with his job. They don't try to make him some great hero. They just say, here's a guy who had a life and he's dead now and he shouldn't be. And that's really all the movie. And that's all the movie is saying to you. Like there's no super. It doesn't. There's a message obviously, but it's not like forcing it on you. Just the message is the story. And I love how the only thing I don't like is. The only thing is the thing with the dog. I think the dog that's a little like
100% agree. It's not needed. It's just
that's a little too much. Like look how and other than that, like I think the whole movie just laid out so well. There's almost no story. It's just a day, totally a day in the life, and it just happened to be like this tragic day in this guy's life. And the movie, I could say, I can't say this movie changed my perspective on a lot of things because of the way it was presented and just the way it was laid out and the way it gave you that just a real life feel. So yeah, I think this movie is definitely one. Like I said, I mean, it's not a movie I'd say like, oh, I'd love to watch this movie. It's so great, but I mean, it's a fantastic movie, super important movie, and yeah, I think definitely earns a place on your list and should be talked about. Everybody else on Fruitvale.
So I can never watch this film. I lived in Oakland when it happened. I have gone by that station hundreds and hundreds of times. My kids who I taught in Oakland are his age now, and it's just a movie that I'm mad I can't see, but I cannot bring myself to watching it just because it's very close to home. But hearing about it is about as close as I can get as to getting to that story because it's very close to me. So.
Yeah, kind of like I just talked about with I, Tonya. Like, this is a movie that takes like somebody who is known for, one tragic event and tries to make you see more than that. And I mean, I think it does it very effectively. I've only watched the movie once because, yeah, I mean, it's brutal. It's not one that I want to sit down and pop on anytime, but it's very well done. I mean, Michael B. Jordan is obviously great in the movie. The conversation that he has with like the young couple or whatever that they meet there towards the end of the movie, like that really rips your heart out. And yeah, we're still seeing this stuff happen more than ever. So an essential movie, not an easy movie to watch, but an essential one.
I think this movie really means well, but I think that the ultimate point the movie comes down to is, hey, this guy that was like executed in cold blood, this tragedy. Did you know, like, he was a human being? And it's like, yeah, like I know, like I don't, I get what it's going for. It's just like, yeah, I think I understood that this was a tragedy just based on based on the headline and the it feels like the MO of the movie is oh, like this is more than just a headline, and it's well made. I think Coogler's extremely talented. It's just I didn't personally get much from this.
All right. Okay, Rue, that takes us to your number 71.
So, somebody called Jacoby Bancroft because it's The Mummy, 1999.
Oh.
Not that one. The Mummy, 1999. I
know what Jake's 71 is now.
I already know basically where I'm at this week. So either this is going to raise me up in Kirk's estimation or lower me in Kirk's estimation. But this to me is the fourth Indiana Jones film. This is what it should have been. This is one of my this is, I think, the perfect blend of action, comedy, and adventure that has ever been put on screen. Period. Brendan Fraser is is the epitome of charisma and comedy and action in this film. Period. Point blank. Period. It is absolutely amazing in this film. How charismatic he is in this. How much chemistry he has with Rachel Weisz. How Rachel Weisz takes over this movie as well and is not a damsel in distress. Oded Fehr. I love Oded Fehr because my mom loved Oded Fehr, and he also oozes just a lot. This is a very sexy film. On top of that, I believe The Mummy is just, this is the popcorn film of popcorn films. This is exactly what you want when you want to go to a movie and have a good time, and you get better than a good time. You get great action, you get great comedy, you get great adventure film, and you put it all together in a movie. The Mummy 1999 is, when I said National Treasure, this movie is perfect. There's nothing wrong with this film. For what it is, for what it's supposed to be, this movie is absolutely amazing. I think this is one of the only films that is more rewatchable than National Treasure. Love this film to death, and I will say it again. Brendan
digging.
Fraser is charisma in this film.
Rue, I you know how much I love you.
Of course, but we don't agree on anything.
You're one of my favorite people in this community, but I literally have never heard anyone be more wrong than what you just said, equating Brendan Fraser to charisma. The man is carved from a block of wood. When I saw this movie, I said, you know what? This franchise could be Indiana Jones, except you got a horrible actor with no charisma. You got just basically a big dumb himbo to play your main character. You put a decent actor in that role, somebody with charisma who can be funny and entertaining, then you got something. But the movie collapses under the weight of his complete lack of talent or acting ability or anything other than just being good looking. He's awful in almost everything he does. He's terrible in this. This movie, I'll say everything about this movie that I would say about National Treasure, except I won't watch it. I don't want to watch it. I'm going to avoid it because of him, because of how bad he is in this. Yeah, that's a take, Rube. I am kind of broke right now. I'm glad this is the last.
Everything Kirk just said and flip it to me, because you could not be more wrong to me at all.
I'm so glad this is the last pick of the night, because I don't think I can go much longer after this. Everybody else on Mummy 99.
Never seen it.
Oh, come on. Fail.
Rue, we don't watch the same movies. You're not here. There's no overlap.
But as much as Jacoby and I have talked about this film. Oh, okay, fine.
When I watched this movie when I was a kid, I had such a huge crush on Rachel Weisz. This movie made me like shy, where I was like, I'm gonna stand back and watch this over here. Like the bugs under the skin scared like the shit out of me when I was a kid. I thought about that all the time. I really like this movie. I think it's delightful. I think that they should make more movies like this that are just like they tried to with The Mummy Returns and Van Helsing, which that seems to be what Kirk is describing. And there is a huge line between what the original 1999 Mummy was and those two movies. And The Mummy is what those want to be. It's very satisfying. Brendan Fraser is a national treasure. Yeah, can't say enough good things.
I also enjoyed the movie. I do think it is kind of like a poor man's Indiana Jones, but I'm with Jake in saying like I want there to be more movies like this, so I give it a pass because I just think like Disney tried it this year with Jungle Cruise or whatever,
Right.
but it just does not have the same appeal as National Treasure, which we talked about, as Indiana Jones, as The Mummy.
Right.
Like the spirit of adventure that those movies had about them is just so much more. It was just more original back then. It's just stale now when they try. They're clearly just trying to capture something there and recapture what was lost. And yeah,
they're all shot on a green screen too now. Like they're actually in the desert in this movie, and you can tell they built sets.
Brendan Fraser, his renaissance right now is making
Kirk is speechless.
Making me so happy.
I'm sorry, Spence. I'm kind of blacked out. Did you say anything about this movie yet?
I just want to see you like recreate the gift, or just like flipping stuff and just like
That's you know where that gift comes from, right?
From talking about this.
Yes, exactly. And again, this movie's my kryptonite. I can't get away from it. Okay, Jake, take us home with your number 71, please.
Okay, I picked a good movie for number 71, one deserving of a top 100 list. I picked Paul Schrader's Mishima, A Life in 4 Chapters. Because I'm really smart. You guys are talking about like what makes a good biopic. And I actually think that the qualities of I, Tanya, and Fruitvale Station aren't really what makes a good biopic for me. What makes a good biopic for me is like making it as cinematic as possible. Like really like diving into like the ecstatic truth of what is going on, not just telling the Wikipedia page story. This is why I couldn't stand that what the Straight Outta Compton. Like I'll read the Wikipedia page. I don't really care for that kind of biopic or Walk the Line. Mishima is the story of it's the story of this Japanese writer, the titular character. In real life, he staged a military coup and ended up committing ritual suicide for his cause. And the brilliant thing that the movie does is it flashes back to his childhood, which is all shot in black and white, and then it infuses his stories into the rest of the movie. So you actually learn so much more about this character by seeing these almost anthology shorts of his actual works. And they're all so experimental and interesting. And the reason that I think that this is especially like a key choice in adapting this man's life is because of this quote. He says, "Perfect purity is possible if you turn your life into a line of poetry written with a splash of blood." Okay, so he's making the case for poetry being more important than the literal facts to understanding a human being. And this is an infinitely complicated human being. I highly recommend everyone check this one out.
I have seen this. I watched it one time, and I'm not going to pretend that I understood everything that was happening. There's a lot, and it needs a rewatch. I do want to rewatch. I'm trying to get more into Schrader, like past year or so. Just other things like this and movie trivia keep me from doing that. But he's definitely a writer and director I want to get deeper on. I enjoyed it. Like visually, it's beautiful, and it was interesting. But again, like you said, like just the way it bounced around, I don't know enough about the person himself, so I think going in not understanding what everything kind of represented, what it meant, is it made it a little harder. But it's definitely a really solid movie, and a very interesting movie, and a very well-made movie. Anybody else seen this one?
It sounds interesting, but I haven't seen it.
No, so I'll just say this, Jake. It may not be something that appeals to you. However, the fact that people don't realize that celebrities and people are actual people is why those biopics work, to show them that they're just people in real life doing real things, and that's what appeals to me in those type of biopics.
I have an issue with I think they did Eazy-E dirty because he's dead, but okay, whatever.
I love how they did Eazy-E, but anyway.
Don't you hate when a movie made to tell a story about a person tells the story about a person? What the fuck? Okay, I want my movie more cinematic. They're all shot on fucking cameras. Cinematic
Jackie,
is an entirely subjective term.
Jackie is another example. This straightforward, just this happened and this, then this, and
Look
this.
at me, I'm slow paced with a weird score. I'm cinematic. Cinematic means fucking nothing. There is no definition for the word. It's shot on a camera. It is cinema. You're saying
it is aiming for something beyond realism. That's how I would describe Mishima and why I would call it cinematic.
Cinematic is not a real word. It's like pretentious. The word does not mean what you think it means. There's nothing here. The fact that you are shitting on an entire genre of film because it does its purpose is insane.
I like both. Just still, you said Straight Outta Compton, and it hurt me a little bit, but I'm pretty sure this one is actually pretty good too. Both are fine. But yeah, I've never seen that. But love for all those other movies as well.
Stories.
Let's go home.
There's always to tell them, all different ways.
This got weird at the end.
Do I have to?
I argue a lot.
Yes, you have to choose, Kirk. You do have to choose.
Okay. First fight's going to be Scott again. What? He had 12 Angry Men. He had Memento. He had I, Tonya, Easter Promises. Dunkirk hurt you, but nothing else really did. I like Mean Girls. Yeah, this is a solid list. Inoffensive. Didn't have any terrible takes that made me sad to be alive. So You did make me sad to be alive, Scott. That's what won you the show tonight. That's
Switzerland over here.
That's the bar. That's the bar. Don't make me regret my birth.
Bar.
Speaking of bar,
Right.
Second place. This is where it gets tough. God. I'll go with Spence because he has Pacific Rim. He had they had Pacific Rim. They had Fruitvale Station, T2. I got to give you a pass on some of these because there's 3 movies in here I haven't seen yet, so I can't kill you for your list. But it's MacGruber. Okay, still. Third place is going to be Rue because again I got to give you a pass on some of this stuff. The Mummy's terrible. But you had some. I mean, Inside Out's good. National Treasure's all right. And then fourth place is Jake. On paper, Jake should have done better. Alien, Uncut Gems, Collateral. This should have been a good list. But I couldn't overlook your terrible takes on Hellboy 2. Tanya, Fruitvale Station. You just said a lot of things today, Jake, and you just buried yourself in a deep hole.
I had to.
So maybe next week we'll get a little further out of that. But Bruce's take on the Mummy was awful. But that was his only really bad. I mean, awful. But that was his really only bad take of the night. Jake, you had multiple bad takes. So that's the way we're doing it.
PU.
Hey guys, I think we hit our stride tonight. I think we got to the point where the Your List Sucks Top 100 is supposed to be. I think we're there.
Boy.
So let's keep it going for next week. We'll be here. We're going to be in the 60s for Jake, for Spence, for Scott, for Rue. Come back. Maybe next week I'll die or something. Who knows? It'll be fun. See you then.
Going to intimidate me. I'm entitled to my opinion.
Drunk and angry. Come on, break the lousy cup.
Ow! I hurt my arm.
And I'd expect everybody to do everything.
I'm going there soon, you know.
Is that so? Where are you going?
Uruguay.
Well, you go Uruguay and I'll go mine.